Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you may be in the world at this current time. Thank you all for being here. And today is going to be just essentially what we're going to talk about is stuff we love. Rants may be incoming, but that is to be expected. And just, things that we love in general, things that help us kind of find that escapism that is so desperately lacking in the world today. And, just maybe some stuff that we talk about today you've heard of, maybe some stuff you haven't, and you can find a new series or game or music or artist or streamer or whoever that you can check out and maybe help you find a new avenue to escape through. So that's kind of it's a whole array of things. So it's impossible for me to get off topic because the topic is literally everything. And I'm so happy that someone was able to join me to travel down this road of ambiguity and insanity with me. Hello, Lethal.
Hi, I woke up. Like, as soon as I woke up, I got a message from Lady Gravemaster. She gave me a link. She said, "Hey, do you want to come on a stream?" I'm like, I just need to put the kettle on. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Here we are, 6 in the morning, ready to rock. Not even dressed, in a robe.
There you go. It's a heck of a way to start the day.
Yes.
And that's why Lethal is off camera, so that all of you ladies don't lose your minds.
Yeah.
You
We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
But how are you doing, sir?
I am well. I had a big Christmas. It was pretty fun. I caught up with my dad, and then a few friends came back to mine, and we celebrated here. But honestly, I'm just looking forward to the end of the year now. I don't want to move on, but I'm well, thank you.
Well, good. And there's still what, 3 days left? I mean, technically today, tomorrow, and Saturday. So we got 2.5 days left of the year. So make it count. Can you believe 2020 was 3 years ago?
Feels like 3 lifetimes ago.
It feels like the year that never ended, and yet somehow it also feels like forever ago. I'm not even sure how that dichotomy is possible, and yet it is. If there was a year that was going to pull it off, it would definitely be 2020, that's for sure.
Definitely.
But, so, to get this party started, I'm going to talk about something that I really love, and then how it got subverted, and now I really hate the spin-off of it. And I think it's going to make sense to everybody when I explain why. So, first of all, people who can draw and render stuff, you are my heroes, because I can't do this stuff. Like, this is amazing to me. This is fantastic. But as you can, I don't know if you guys can see, but here, I'll zoom in really quick. I typed in Warrior Knight, all right? Just nothing specific, no like series or rendition, anything like that specific, just Warrior Knight. And what pops up is a whole lot of men, right? Just like ready to do battle, ready to defend their kingdom, or ready to just be conquerors, whatever it might be, right? These are warriors to the core. They are ready to stand up, they're ready to fight. I mean, honor, determination, battle hardened, battle experienced, ready to go. They're just very, it's so good. Like, you get this, you get good, you get evil, you get battles. It's pretty fantastic, right? And so like 99% of these are men, right? Warrior Knight, you get men. Like, damn, that's just bad.
That's fucking awesome, that one.
This one's fabulous. I love this one. Like, that's so incredible. And this is the kind of stuff that you expect, right? But here's the thing. When you type in Warrior Knight protecting beautiful princess, you get this one meme that is like everyone. This one that gets used consistently, and I have no problem against it. I love it. But so you have this, and then you scroll down, and then it's all female warrior badasses. Like, it's all princess, warrior, shield maiden stuff. Like, that's not at all what I typed in. That looks like something utterly different. I don't know where that's from.
Well, that looks like a photo shoot for like a cosplay or something, if I had to guess.
Yeah, if I had to take
Because that's too high quality to be like a Lord of the Rings show or something.
We know Amazon was not involved with this. Oh my God, Miss Martin Muses, moi, you are an angel and a saint. Thank you for the $50 super sticker. No, you are awesome, Miss Martin Muses.
Miss Martin Muses.
She's
so lovely.
She is. She's just like one of the best people ever.
Speaking of Lord of the Rings, you go on some of her Lord of the Rings streams, don't you?
Yes, I do, as often as I can. She is extremely knowledgeable. She's very specific, and she's one of those people where if you don't know your stuff, but you pretend that you do, she's 100% going to call you on your BS. She's going to be like, actually, on page 117 of the appendices, and you're just like, whoa, I wasn't ready. I was not ready. But, yeah. She's amazing. She's got high quality stuff on there. Very informative, very entertaining, and very much who I want to be when I grow up. But on this, like, look, and here's the thing. People are going to be like, oh, but she looks really feminine. Like, she's got her hair down and everything like that. Yes, that is all true. However, what people are failing to recognize is, well, first of all, that's incorrect armor. But it is not what I typed in. Everybody's like, but that's so pretty and she looks so feminine. Yes, but also most princesses did not fight wars. They didn't fight in battles. And here's what really irritates me. I have my reviews dropping for the Witcher Blood Origin show. It's terrible, guys. Don't check it out. But I'm going to touch a little bit on what I say in my review. Is really a princess's duty at the time was to like solidify peace treaties, often through marriages. In Blood Origin, the princess literally betrays everybody she supposedly loves and everybody that she knows and slits the throat of her own bodyguard so that she does not have to marry for peace. And instead, she becomes a conquering tyrant empress who literally wiped out 4 royal bloodlines so that she could control the entire world. Because she didn't want to get married to ensure peace.
Oh.
Like, yeah. So, the whole notion of, like, femininity and feminine power and bringing, like, a sense of peace to, even if it's just your man, if you're like the rock for your man and you're able to help him shut out the exterior noise, that's part of what makes us femininity so important and makes us so strong. Women don't want to hear this, and it's not a you can fix him thing. It's a you can literally be where your man escapes to ensure his sanity. You can help with men's mental health. You can also destroy it, and that's a very powerful thing. And either women don't realize that that's a power that we possess, or they do, and they are being extremely destructive with that gift and with that power.
It's a case-by-case basis. Like,
yeah,
I know it's very easy to just pick a side and say it's one or the other, but I believe that it is very much a case-by-case basis. I think society wants it to be a lot more on the other side, though, and they push for that. And the ones that are very for that are vocal as fuck. But the reality is, if you walk down the street, 9 out of 10 people are still normal. Okay, it's the loud ones that just make everything bad.
They're just
But
really, really loud.
yeah, I know. It's just like, oh, shut up. But
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's a case by case.
I would have to agree. So for some reason, members super chats don't show up. Sorry, but it says so from D-Day Direwolf for 2 months at the Gravemaster level. Hello, D-Day Direwolf says Asheba.
Eshai,
Mwah, love you.
That's the
And
cool
Chris
sign of my
Persia,
people.
my God, donated 10 or gifted 10 memberships. Thank you, Chris Persia. You're amazing. You are amazing. Truly, truly incredible. But so like I said, I'm not saying that. So looking at this picture, Lethal, I think we can both agree she's very feminine in her, like, she's very feminine looking.
Is
But
she
what people
now? Or you could also say, and I think D-Day will get a giggle out of this. You could also say that it's a more masculine version of Griffith from Berserk.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you. Merry Christmas to you too, Chris Persia. Thanks for the present. I really appreciate that. Mwah. But and then over on the donation side, Cross Purposes for $5 says recommendations for people. Small YouTube channel named Obsessed with Cinema made a fantastic analysis of Top Gun Maverick. Just finished it and I appreciate the movie so much more. And it only has 300 views. Well, there you go. I will have to go check it out. So the channel is Obsessed with Cinema. Did a Top Gun Maverick analysis, which I'm a fan of because I love that movie. But she's extremely feminine, but that isn't what I typed in. This is what I typed in. Warrior Knight protecting beautiful princess. And yes, I put beautiful in there because I don't need the cosplayers who are trying to prove a point. Like, not everybody in the world is a 10, and I'm not saying you have to be a 10 to dress up as a princess. That's not what I'm saying. But Lethal, I think you can back me up when I say there are in bad faith cosplayers out there who purposefully try to like undermine or usurp like the princess trope or the warrior, like any traditionally feminine character. Like Fat Sailor Moon is a thing. Fat Sailor Moon cosplayers are a thing, and they do it intentionally because they're like, I can fight the Negaverse just like this, and this is how she really would have looked if she ate as much as she did.
Oh, well, luckily for us, it's not fucking real.
I know, right? Like the whole like fantasy seems to be escaping them. And yes,
The irony.
Sailor Jupiter for life, Gord King. Always.
The irony of fantasy escaping people.
Right? But you've got these. I had to type this in because you have these cosplayers out there who will, in bad faith, dress up as these like traditional feminine symbols, or even these really feminine like superheroes like Wonder Woman or Sailor Moon, any of the Sailor Scouts. I've seen it. Oh god, anime seems to be where they are invading right now. I really want them to go away. Like a lot. I just want them to go away. I really do.
Hey.
Chris Persia. We have a Sailor Mars simp in the chat.
Basic bitch. I remember a con I went to, I want to say 2, maybe 3 years ago. You get those other ones like, yeah, but they're kind of doing it in like a funny way.
Yes.
So there was these older women, we'd say in, oh god, I want to say 60s, right? And it was pretty funny, but kind of fucked up at the same time. They went as slutty Catwoman and slutty Wonder Woman. It was pretty funny, like, but at the same time, it was like, oh, come on.
That's just based in them having a good time.
Yeah, you can tell they were loving every second.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That has got to be one. Yeah. Oh man, that's amazing. See, people like that, they're just having fun with it.
Yeah.
And Gord King, that's got to be one of the best jokes ever. If any of you don't know who Circumference is, I suggest you look at a math book. It's Starts with a C in there though. But I like this is my issue because I didn't type in princess warrior knight, you know? Like that's not what I typed in. That's not what I'm looking for. And then we scroll down a little bit further. I mean, look at, she's so badass she can stop every single arrow flying at her with, by just holding. First of all, these things are going to pierce her very exposed abdomen. Like, look at that. Those are going straight for her abdomen. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. But this isn't at all like what I typed in. And it gets really, really, really irritating. I'm sick of this particular trope because it's been feminazied so much that you actually can't take these women seriously, and when you see them in a show or a series or a movie, they tend to be psychotic. I mean, to the point where, again, I'll go back to Blood Origin. It's the most recent example. She slaughtered 3 clans who for generations had been protecting the royal families of these different kingdoms, and she ended every single royal bloodline because she did not want to marry the king of the neighboring kingdom to bring peace to the land. And her justification for that was because it was her brother setting up the arranged marriage, and she had a greater destiny than that.
Hoes be crazy.
Hoes do be crazy. But meanwhile, she sleeps with one of her protectors, and he gets banished. He gets banished, and
What?
she's more concerned about she's more concerned about her books than she is about the fact that the man she supposedly loves has just been banished and essentially given a death sentence.
What the fuck?
Yeah, like it's so bad. It's so bad. She is everything wrong. Everything wrong with feminists. And like they try so hard. They try so hard to make her into this victim. Because first it was her brother oppressing her, and now the mage who helped her betray everybody is the one oppressing her. So now she has to get rid of him before she can truly become the empress that she was meant to become. Like, everybody's oppressing her. Even though she's the one that helped kill everybody, she slit her own bodyguard's throat and literally helped vaporize her brother, the entire clan that's been defending her family for generations, all the royal lines, every single warrior clan. She helped incinerate them, but somehow she's the victim. And like that's not.
So she's a bit of a she's the Amber Heard of the Witcher universe.
Yeah, apparently. Like she's not being ironic about it at all either. And like you can tell the writers actually really love her because in the last episode, I'm giving away a bunch of my video review, but the last episode, the girl boss fight where it's between the one survivor from the Raven clan who is now banging the Empress's ex. So she walks in and the two of them basically talk. I kid you not. It's like 2 minutes of them just talking. And the assassin, whose entire clan was wiped out, her mother, her sisters, everybody she ever knew, right? Wiped out by this empress. This assassin puts her knives away and starts saying, you know what? I used to think that, like, the whole way here, I was going to kill you because you killed my family. And then this thought kept nagging at me. Maybe you were right to do away with the royalty and to do away with the monarchs because they used us as boots to put on other people's necks and we let them use us. So now you have 2 women in a room who have killed multiple people, are like just beloved by all of these individuals or whatever, like have all this power. One of them's got fame, one of them's got wealth, cut it how you want to cut it however you want. But these two women, who are probably the two most powerful women in the realm, are now talking about how oppressed they are.
This sounds so fucking gay.
This is the final fight between the Empress, who like usurped an entire world and is now ruling over it, and an assassin who helped her get there, but they are oppressed.
What the fuck? Is this like a full-blown... It's a mini-series, isn't it? Like
It's
5 episodes.
It's a limited 4-episode series. It was supposed to be
4.
6, and thank God it was only 4. I binged
Jeez.
it in a day, and I wanted to rip my ears and eyes off and out. Like, it was so bad. And that just comes back to this trope here. Like, we have women who are acting like men, and men who are acting like women. And when you type in something like warrior knight protecting or defending beautiful princess, that's not what you get. See, now we're just getting into random stuff down here.
There's a monkey.
A monkey. Okay, so we've got nothing. So you've got nothing to do with anything down there, and then we get up here, and there's literally nothing except that one anime meme. That one meme where he's holding up his shield against a crowd yelling at her, and that's it. There's nothing. Not one thing.
Good Lord.
It's all these empowered princess warrior types. Here's one where the knight took 2 arrows for her, and he's dying in lap, but she's got an arrow in her back. So
are we going to point out how this one's next to the Brony fan art?
Where? Oh, gee, I didn't even. It is next to Brony fan. For those of you who don't know what bronies are, they are My Little Pony fans that tend to be male and are very invested in the relationships of...
It's your common Fortnite player.
There you go. But like, see, and here's Lady Knight and Princess. That looks like something for a really cheap porno that you would watch.
I've seen that one. It's not cheap
You've
at all.
seen that one? Okay. Like, and I'm not knocking the artist. This is better than anything that I could ever like render. But seriously, there's no traditional masculine and feminine. Nothing. And it's a crime. It's a true crime, because the idea, I don't know how many of you guys are on Twitter.
Not anymore, because apparently you're not even allowed to tweet about Pokemon anymore, because Elon must be a Digimon simp or something. I got banned off Twitter for tweeting out, "Hey guys, I'm coming back to Pokemon and I'm coming for all your trainers' asses." And then bang, targeted harassment.
That wasn't Elon.
Yeah, it was. That was after the Elon took over.
I
Elon,
know, but that's
unbanned me.
That's someone he hasn't vetted out yet.
No, that was Elon. He's a Digimon simp.
Oh, he's a Digimon simp? Okay, good to know. But also, don't shit on Digimon. I love Digimon.
I like Digimon too, but I was promised that this would be an equal footing new Twitter. Clearly, it's not.
Did you see? So before you got banned, did you see his tweet the other day? There is someone still on his staff somewhere, and he hasn't figured out who it is yet. But they are going around and they are hammer banning anybody who tweets something offensive that's brought to their attention.
Oh, he's doing a shit job of vetting people then.
It's like, you still got some people in there who are having fun doing the stuff that you were against. So you better find them. Mexican Iron Man, thank you for joining the fellowship. Mwah. You are a scholar and a gentleman, and I love you. But see, like here you have a medieval rendition of a princess and a knight, but even still, that's a mage staff. That's not a royal scepter, because royal scepters, especially queen scepters, tended to be smaller. Okay, this is more of like a mage's staff. So even here, we still get that little bit of usurpation, but I enjoy actually seeing it expressed. But I don't understand why we get 2 lines of what I actually typed in, kind of. It's not even really what I typed in. And then we come down here, and it's a gory princess knight, and like I don't know what the look on her face is right there.
She's
And I
looking at something. That's the face of, ugh, but I can't look away.
And then this one is screaming in the woods or singing, or I don't know. Maybe that's her O face. I am not sure.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that one.
This one is confusing to me. I don't know what that is. I
What
don't
is
want to
she doing?
know. But like here, look. So she's carrying the little girl out. She is clearly a mage warrior.
Or she's kidnapping the child, and the child's pointing to like her family, going, "Mom, Dad, help me."
I like that one much better. Let's go with that one. Even though the castle's on fire and it looks like ogres are charging the gate. But I like yours. We'll go with yours.
She's
And
in
like
on
I
it.
said, there's this trope, there used to be nothing wrong with it, except now it is everywhere. It's in everything. And if you have even a slightly traditional feminine princess who doesn't know how to shoot arrows or use a sword. Most princesses, like if you go back and if you study history, I don't know how many history buffs are in the chat, but if you go back and study history, princesses' weapons tended to be very close quarter stuff. They were taught how to use daggers and small knives because you could hide those in accessories. So they like pieces of their crown could come out and be used as a weapon, or they had, this was another reason, I don't know how many people know this, but sheath dresses actually became a thing because it was harder to smuggle in weapons into different like events. So dresses did used to have pockets. They did come with pockets because women would hide poisons or knives, or they would smuggle like different jewels out. It was like a thief's favorite that like a female thieves existed, and they would steal jewels and they'd shove those things into their dresses because there would be different folds that they could hide it in. And there's so there is like women, females did do a lot of things, but it was usually like shadow work. It had to do with poison, and it was poison, it was daggers, or if like sleeping draughts, anything like that, any type of like potion that could render their victim immobile better. um and outside of like if they needed lethal weapons outside of daggers, another thing that was really common, because sometimes a blade was not always available for them, they, honest to god, they were they were called ball crushers.
Ugh!
Yeah. And they would, so essentially what would happen is there, it was a device that they like, it could be in a bracelet, and they'd slide it down over their hand, and then they would grab the testes, and it would cause internal bleeding, and the guy could literally internally bleed to death with it.
And this is why they created cups.
Yes, that's why cups actually exist, not for physical sports, not for
Nope.
sports. No, it was because the ball the ball crushers existed.
Did you
I
ever
didn't know.
see Fate Zero?
No.
So they did a warrior princess really well in that one, and it's actually a gender swap. It's definitely worth the watch. I think it was only like 12 episodes. No, it was like 20 episodes or something from memory. It had King Arthur, but King Arthur was a woman, and it works really well. That's what I thought. I thought the same thing. I'm like, nah, fuck this, but no, it works.
Okay. I'll definitely give it a look because you suggested it and I trust you.
I'll get an image of it.
D-Day for $5. Thank you, D-Day. Says, as someone who wears armor and has long hair, these girls would be terrible warriors. Having their hair loose would get caught in their armor and straps. Yes, that's why braids were very much a thing in warrior culture, because if you could have your hair long and still kick ass on the battlefield, it meant you really knew what you were doing, and not even the disadvantage of long hair was an encumbrance to you, which made you even more of a badass. So there is definitely that. And oh no, did I make everybody cringe? Ouch, Lady G, please. I'm just saying, like, that's what it was. Oh, D-Day Direwolf dropping some more knowledge. Japanese lady would use pole arms like naginata to fight and keep distance from their attackers, mostly for the defense in case they were attacked in home. They wouldn't be fighting on battlefields. Yeah, most women knew defense tactics, not offensive ones that you'd use on a battlefield. That's what shield maidens actually were. Oh wait, I got it. There we go. Shield maidens were experts in like home defense and home defense tactics. They did not go out on battlefields and slaughter people, generally speaking. That's
so like the plot is without getting too deep into it, basically it's like, see, you have like your everyday human will participate, or a select few of them will participate in like a thing called a Grail War, and they all get a servant to do the fighting for them, and their servants are all like historical figures from the past, and one of them gets Saber. Her name's Saber, but she's basically just a gender swapped King Arthur. And it works incredibly well.
I'll give it a look.
It's worth a watch. Worth a watch.
Good to know. I'll definitely give it a look. I think again, I'm not against how can I phrase this? I'm not against inspired by characters like if you say that she's basically a gender swapped King Arthur, because I like the symbolism of King Arthur. I like what he stands for. And I think the problem is it's just become it's become this
the problem is like, because there's been so many bad examples of it in such a short period of time that everyone has become hypersensitive to it. So when you first get like a little whiff of it, your immediate reaction is to say, nope, fuck that, and then put it off.
Yes, it's been a very concentrated amount of feminist warrior queens in a very condensed amount of time. Like in the past 5 years, I could I could throw a boulder 2 feet and hit like 16 different examples. You know what I mean? And you and I talked about this. Like there's some exceptions. The big one is obviously Xena. I mean, this was not a vehicle for feminism or feminists ideology in today's day and age. This was literally just a woman who is smoking. But even when she fought, I mean, she was, I'm not gonna lie, like I went back and watched some episodes recently because it had been a minute. The woman uses her body to get out of a lot of bad situations. Just saying.
Hey.
Like she definitely
It works.
Yeah, she uses her femininity as a weapon, which plays in her favor rather frequently.
Her and Wonder Woman, I'd say, are like off the top of my head 2 exceptions.
Even though the Wonder Woman comics recently have been
it's been a bit rough.
They've been bad. But like, look at that. She's beautiful and badass and still very feminine. Superman had to save her ass, and a princess. Superman and Batman have both had to save her ass multiple times.
But she's also saved theirs as well.
She has. And Aquaman had to save her one time, and nobody let her live it down, and it was hilarious. I need to find that comic run because I always found it really funny. But yeah, she's just like, at no point, I think that's why I really liked the first Wonder Woman, because the this one. Because she still very much needed.
Oh, she's dead without Steve in that movie.
Yeah, like
she's
she
dead a couple
needed
times
him.
over.
Yeah, she needed him to navigate the world, like, because she didn't understand it. She didn't recognize it, and she was way out of her depth, and she would have been dead multiple times over. So even though she is this daughter of Zeus, weapon forged by the gods in order to defeat evil, she still needed help. Like, that's an incredible story. That's an incredible character. That arc is something you want to see happen. You know what I mean? That is not what happens today. These women don't need no man. Look, she don't need no man. She don't need no man. She's even giving you like the evil smirk eyes. She
Oh
definitely
no,
don't
Lady
need
G.
no man.
Lady G, that's not what that smirk is.
Yeah, okay. It is for me. It is for me. She doesn't need a man. Look at her.
I think she definitely does. I think that would sort out quite a number of her problems.
Probably. Oh, I missed one. You can't really make it out. Oh no, he failed because she's got an arrow in her back. So he's a terrible protector. See, can't win. Can't win. Gord King for $2 says Wonder Woman today would carry the lasso of her truth. Yes, she would. Yep. Abso-freaking-lutely. But this is something like the problem is I love to read. I love fantasy. If you guys have followed me on Twitter or Instagram or even on here for a while, you know that I love fantasy. It is my favorite genre. Lord of the Rings is up. I mean, Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time, The Magician, which is a series. So like, I don't. It's the Magician series. Blah blah blah. Magician series. There we go. See, I can talk. I can talk good. The King Killer Chronicles. Oh god, there's so many, and I'm just like listing so few off. But I love those. But I also love dark fantasy. So like Conan the Barbarian is one of my Berserk is amazing. I've just recently started actually getting into it and reading it, and it's fantastic. The Dresden Files are amazing. So that's the kind of dark fantasy that I love. But this stuff is, hold on, I have to take this off screen and put the search in, because if I don't, some bad stuff will pop up. Because dark fantasy has got, well, because I literally am just typing in dark fantasy.
Guys, you need to understand that Lady G's search history is more filth than my own.
Yes, absolutely. Well, no, it's because, see, I can't scroll down more than 4 bars because then we get into bad stuff. So when I'm talking dark fantasy, this is the stuff that I'm talking about. Like, you have really, really dark forces, and your hero is someone who is corruptible, but is looking for true redemption, probably doesn't think their life is worth that much, and is willing to sacrifice themselves in order to save the world. Like, some of my favorite lines are, the world doesn't deserve your sacrifice, and then he looks up and he's like this world is too good for me, so let's both go to hell together. And then he like grabs a bad guy and then rips him down into hell, right? I love that shit. The self-sacrificing reluctant hero who has to go through all of this, or in Conan's case, literally seeking revenge, and ends up becoming the people's champion, or ends up becoming the people's hero, because he is willing to do he's willing to do the dark deeds that are necessary to release them from the evil that is corrupting their land and their home. And it's It's so very, yes, it's very masculine stuff, and I love it so much. Elden Ring is most definitely dark fantasy for sure.
One thing that I really love about this stuff is like monsters and like the
Yes.
demon type creatures and stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I'm like watching something that's dark fantasy and I see like if I look at a monster, let me reword this. If I look at like a lot of the monsters and I think these just wouldn't freak me out, then it's probably dog shit.
Yeah. Like for me, if it's dark fantasy, I want some truly like this.
Yeah, I
I
want
would want to
stuff like
meet.
that.
Yeah. Like this is because not only is this a Grim Reaper, but I'm gonna zoom in here, guys. Like, look at this. He's got faces
Yeah,
like
it's like souls in
screaming.
him.
Yeah, he's got like souls trapped inside of him. That's horrifying. And that's what I want in my dark fantasy. I don't want this. I'm not going to scroll down because there's some very bad stuff that you guys can't see that I am not going to click on. But like, see this stuff right here, like pits of hell, skulls with lava coming out of
Yeah.
them. This is clearly an evil location.
Yeah, that's some
Like,
Mordor looking shit.
this is some terrifying, never ever want to be in a position like, look, they're attempting to like rescue someone, it appears. They've got like ropes over the side. They're trying to pull some poor soul out of this hell pit. Like, this is the stuff that I love in my dark fantasy. Unfortunately, dark fantasy has been taken over by wine aunts and Twilight lovers. And I'm not saying, look, I've never read or watched the Twilight series. My sister's a huge fan of it. She says the books are better than the movies, but you can say that about a lot of series. It doesn't mean that either one is worth it. But I digress. All I know is ever since those Twilight movies came out, and now we're on to it started with like vampires and werewolves, and now dark fantasy has descended into they don't use
Tweeny fucking crap that's just about some
yes
stupid romance, like a high school romance.
yes and it's like they lie too about the description of the book. So like stuff that I'll find really intriguing is it'll say stuff like a hero who survived hell twice has to go back for a kingdom that rejected him, and I'm like, dude, like, I could read, like, why is he going back? Why did the kingdom reject him? What happened? What's going on? I'm intrigued by this. He's going through hell a third time. So maybe it'll be like Dante's Inferno. Maybe he can walk through all 7 rings, no problem. Right? But
By
then you
any
get into it.
chance, did you ever play the Dante's Inferno game back in the day?
Yes, I did.
Oh, that was the shit.
I've also read it. That's Dante's Inferno. I don't know. I've had this argument many times because it is technically a theological book. But it is most definitely a dark fantasy. Like,
Oh,
if you
fucking
are,
oath.
it's so good, and the game is terrifying.
Yeah.
But
Each
so
circle of hell, like when you get into the one where it's like unbaptized babies popping out of a giant woman's tit and coming at you with
it's
like knife arms and stuff. You're like, this is
it's
messed up.
it's horrifying. But it fall like if you read Dante's Inferno, it pulls heavily from it. It pulls heavily from it, and it's relatively accurate to what what the book says, and what Dante went through. But
Imagine a dark fantasy actually being dark. You know,
no,
one thing about
instead
that
we
I
get.
reckon is
Well, here's the
sorry, go on.
thing: they don't even. Oh, sorry, they don't even use elves anymore. Because like the thing that started to seep in was elves, but I think there was a lot of backlash with that. Um, so now they call them fae, which are basically just elves with wings. Like that's what it is, and it'll be like the fae courts are at war. The concept would be really fascinating, where if you have like dark fae and light fae, and they're battling over the fate of the human world that they've been, ripped into because of some unholy like sacrifice or something like that was done by this person who wanted ultimate power. It's a really fascinating concept, but all it turns into is a bang fest. Like, I had to stop reading because
It's
it got
smut.
like, yeah, it turns into smut. And I'm like, this isn't at all the description. This isn't at all what I signed up for. I don't understand what is happening to dark fantasy, but these wine aunts have jumped on dark fantasy, and it's so just horrific. No, yeah, they're called Fae. That's what they call them. Hail the lore. They call them Fae,
So it
because
sounds to me like it's a bunch of like middle-aged women that are upset that they can't go out and have like rough sex, so they go to something like dark fantasy and try to turn it into tweeny crap.
yes, 100%. That is exactly what it is, and it's invading. It's invading, perhaps. It is literally one of my favorite genres because it is hyper masculine. It's hyper masculine, and it's always, I mean, here's the thing. He doesn't necessarily like Solomon Kane. I love Solomon Kane. Love that
Yep.
story. Um and and it's rooted in deep religious ideas and texts, and Dante's Inferno, same thing. But these things, like, you don't see this stuff anymore. World building in dark fantasy used to be top tier. Now it's very much not. I mean, I'm trying to think. The world building now would be like they walked into the tavern and looked around and saw that they were one of the only patrons, and so they thought it was a good place to stay for the night. There's nothing beyond that. You don't it doesn't build up the world. It doesn't say where this tavern is. It doesn't say if it's in the middle of a town or on the side of a road. It doesn't say if it's a 2-story tavern. Does it have any rooms that they can stay in? Is it a 3-story tavern? Is it a single-story tavern that's adjacent to, like some type of lodging that they rent out? Or is there no lodging at all available at this tavern? Is there a secluded corner that they can go into where they can have a discussion that is going to be sensitive in nature, where they'll still feel somewhat secure? None of that. None
It's just
of
a
that.
room with a table.
Pretty much, yeah. Room, table, maybe 2 tables because there's another party there eating. But you don't know if there's a fireplace out there. You don't know if it's just a bar or if there's a kitchen behind it where they can get food. You don't know what kind of food is being served because it'll literally say their food and drink was presented to them and they began to eat. Is it soup? Is it bread? Is it bread and soup? Is it meat? Is it cheese? Is it like they don't they the details so as a fantasy nerd, something that I desperately enjoy is being able to visualize the world as the author intends it to be.
Okay, well, let me try because I'm no writer. I've never written a book, but let me try and describe a tavern for you. Okay.
Okay.
So they get to the tavern. It's in the dead middle of the street. And as the closer you get to the tavern, it's a smell of alcohol and food that you probably wouldn't eat unless you're absolutely starving. You get closer, you see 2 drunk people fighting at the front. There's a bunch of women that are clearly prostitutes waiting for someone to come out or to go in that they could, do their business with. And as you get closer, you see smashed windows, which implies that there's constantly fighting in there. And as you go inside, it is poorly lit, dirt all over the floor, spilt alcohol, and what appears to be some type of soup stains across the thing. The bartender is a man with one eye and a cut across his face, and there's not a single table that doesn't have a broken chair or some piece of furniture. And yes, there is a fireplace, but it's very poorly lit.
That was fantastic. I
I
mean,
did a new job.
that's an incredible description. Like, really, that's amazing because you know exactly what kind of people are going to be in there, which means if you're looking for someone with a seedy reputation or, a place where someone might hide out, that would be the perfect location. The fact that it's got prostitutes out front lets you know that not so legitimate business is probably happening inside as well. I can see the soup stains. I can see the bartender perfectly. I can actually see it. And that's amazing. That's really amazing. Have you ever considered being a dungeon master? For D&D, not an actual dungeon, like a weird one. The other
No,
kind.
I have not to both of those.
But yeah, like as a fantasy reader, that's the stuff that I love, because you wonder how much of it is going to come into play if like a battle breaks out, or these little details. Like some of the stuff that I really love is when like little details that you maybe brushed over come back to be extremely important. Like if you had said that there was what appeared to be an old door that had been bricked up in the corner, I'd have been like, well, why is it bricked up? Is it really bricked up? Can you still you see what I mean? Like stuff like that, because it helps you to really put yourself in the author's world. If I wanted to create my own world, I would write my own stories. Like the argument that I hear constantly from mostly women who read this stuff is that they want to be able to picture it how they want it. They want to be like they're self-inserting essentially. That's why they don't want anything. They don't want anything beyond he was tall and muscular and built like a Brit. They don't want eye color, hair color. They don't even really want a like accent description or anything like that, because they want to self-insert, and they want to fill in all those holes, all those blanks. They want to be able to do it with what they are envisioning. And so they choose, or they prefer to have their quote unquote fantasy stories with as little detail as possible so they can make it the way they want it in their head.
You end up doing like a massive disservice to the world that's created.
Yeah. Because it's bland, it's uninspired, and it's I mean, perfect example, if we look at visual example, you cannot tell the difference between Wheel of Time, I can't even think of what it's called now, Rings of Power, and Blood Origin. They look the same. They've got fake armor, they've got bland costume, like the capes all look the same. I mean, some of the fabric in Rings of Power looks like it was left over from Wheel of Time. That's how similar they are. I am not kidding. It's horrific. But all of these fantasy series are cookie cutter. You cannot tell the one from the other. You can't differentiate them by looking.
Like even during like the trailers for Rings of Power, like the most common thing that was said across the internet was, this looks so generic.
Yes.
Like with the Halo show, the shitty Paramount Halo show, this is sci-fi show number 372. Like it wasn't Halo. Like something like Halo, which I'm very invested in, as you know, that is very unique. Like you should be able to look at something and go, that reminds me of Halo. You know what I mean? Because that's what the whole thing of that go. That's the problem with generic, bland shit. Is you go, this looks like it was just pulled off of fucking bits of pieces of other sets and made this piece of crap. Nothing about this resembles the world it's supposed to be.
It's literally just interchange. Just interchange with whatever fantasy series you're trying to make next. Change the names and the dialogue slightly and call it. Like that's literally what it is. It's interchangeable fantasy series. And
you can just
really pissing me off.
Slap different names on it and whatever. And
it's a horrific disservice, because here's the thing. It didn't become, none of these series, Halo, Warhammer, Dresden, Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings, I mean, The Witcher, these series did not become household names or become heavy hitters. The one with the siblings all sleep together.
Over here we call it Tasmania. I think you call it Alabama over there.
No,
you're thinking of Game of Thrones.
Yes. Sorry, my brain like died on that one. But yeah, so like Game of Thrones, when you look at Game of Thrones, you know it's Game of Thrones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and it's you look at it and you're like, that is definitely Game of Thrones. I've heard the same thing about House of the Dragon. I've heard if you watch it, it feels like House of the Dragon. It feels like in the world of Game of Thrones. It doesn't feel like you could slap it on Amazon and call it Wheel of Time season 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
I've heard a lot of mixed things about House of the Dragon.
yeah,
Um, See, I never read the Game of Thrones books, but I
yeah.
really liked the first like 4 seasons of the TV show,
I've heard that a lot.
and then it started to lose me. I never actually finished it, and
Mhm. Nope,
everyone
don't feel
knows
bad.
how it ended. So when
I
they said, "Hey, we're doing a prequel," I was a bit like, "No, thank you."
I've never watched it or read it. Much to my husband's chagrin, he's got all of the books that have been released so far, and he's got every season on DVD and or Blu-ray. Um, but but those things like Harry Potter. Are you kidding me? Like Harry Potter is not um like Percy Jackson, which I am terrified of Disney Plus doing a Percy Jackson series because they're going to butcher the ever loving piss out of it. I digress. Percy Jackson has its own uh aesthetic. There's the word I'm looking for. Percy Jackson
Yep.
has its own aesthetic. Harry Potter has its own aesthetic. Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Wheel of Time, the Dresden series, Conan. Like, you're not going to put Conan in 1999. Well, maybe he might fit in 1988 New York because it was pretty barbaric. But I mean, you're not going to drop Conan the Barbarian into New York. And these series, these fantasy series did not become household heavy hitters because they were like everything else. It's because they were uniquely themselves. They brought to life a vivid world of imagination and escapism and altruism and incredible character arcs that were loved across the world. Like, not just in Europe, not just in Australia, not just in the US, literally across the globe. And the fact that these studios either haven't figured it out or don't care that what makes these series what they are is the aesthetic that people fell in love with is not it's not good business. It's not sustainable. There's a reason these studios are failing because they are not listening to paying customers, they're not listening to fans, or they don't care and think they know better, which they obviously don't.
Oh,
But
very clearly they don't. They think they do, but they
yeah, they
don't.
think they do, but they really, really, really freaking don't. See,
And I
like this
know it's
shit's terrifying. Like,
yeah, that looks dope.
like this is in a dark fantasy. If I was about to go up against a 4-armed ogre who's got a flaming scalp and dragons who look like like I can't tell if those are zombie drag. Like I'm not sure. They look terrifying though from this distance. And then he's got warriors on scorpions in front of him, and then what appears to be rock trolls with spikes coming out of their back. Like this is a bad mother. This is this is
Yeah,
this
that's
is
pretty freaky.
terrifying. And if you as a reluctant hero have to go up against this, I mean, like this is some serious shit to overcome. I would love to see how they're going to do it. And hopefully it's not because of a MacGuffin. But
That looks more like a secret boss fight that you're way too underleveled for.
way too like I took a wrong turn.
Yeah.
Definitely shouldn't be here. But yeah, see, I got to slow down. I can't go much further. But the thing about fantasy series, the fantasy genre, is the world building is key because this is the author's world. This is the way they've envisioned it and they are presenting it to their audience. These wine aunts who are too drunk, too stupid, or too, I don't know, something else to want to take the time to really appreciate and see an author's vision. I have a problem with that because if what you want is a self insert, go write a fanfic. Like,
Well, that's what half of these are, to be honest with
oh
you.
yeah, but they are
It's
being
half fanfic, half erotica, self-inserts. I mean, now I know, a lot of people still consider me young, but back in my day, we just called it a sex fantasy.
literally, like, it's like these, it's, I call them the wine aunts because at least the wine moms, they're moms, so they at least got laid and are probably still married, even if they feel unfulfilled because they're, I don't know, they made miserable choices. But like the wine aunts, they're the women who 100% bought into the feminist lie, have no children, have no husband, they're in their mid to late 40s or 50s, can't pull a guy because it's not like they can show up to a bar and pick up a 20-something-year-old who's actually gonna stay with them. And and so instead they're now invading all of these different forms of escapism and demanding and forcing them to change to what they want because they are too lazy for self-improvement, so they're just going to keep pushing their angry, self-indulgent, denialistic, horrific views and claim that if you don't love it, you're intolerant and whatever. What
Yes,
did I
I
just
am
call?
intolerant. More and more, I am legitimately becoming intolerant.
Mm-hmm.
I am very intolerant of all this stuff these days.
It's all right. I'm internally misogynistic. I get told that
Good.
at least twice a day now.
Internally misogynistic. Okay. I'm
Yep.
outwardly misogynistic.
But I mean, look at this is whether he's a good guy or a bad guy based on what he's writing and the fact that he's got busted chains around him. I'm gonna go with a bad guy.
Yeah.
But I can only see like a snippet of this thing's head. Here, guys, I'm gonna make this full screen for you. You can only really see a snippet of this thing's head, and it looks terrifying. Like, look at that. It's beady one eye with a black dot right smack in the middle, and what appears to be like really sharp spikes, while fire and brimstone are raining down on a city. Like, I would read whatever book this is. I really would. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nah. I'm with you.
I wish. I don't know. I really wish that the wine aunts would go away and stay in their own little corner. Because this perversion of the stuff that I love is really pissing me off. I mean, to the point where.
I'll go to that dragon. Do you mind?
Which one?
On the right, yeah. Right, yep.
Yep.
That looks awesome. See, I'm a
Yes.
sucker for dragons.
I do love dragons. And this is actually a dragon, not a riven, because dragons have 4 legs, whereas ravens have 2 hind legs and then the claws on the wings that they use in place of a leg. So this is actually a legit dragon.
That's freaky, man.
That is terrifying. I love it. It's also juxtaposed against like the doves that are flying away. It looks even more terrifying.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, the doves are like, fuck that.
See, like, it's not hard to produce. Dude, look at this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's not hard to produce good fantasy and good looking dark fantasy and something that's intriguing and grasping and something that your audience is going to love. If none of you have checked out the Dresden Files, strongly recommend. If none of you have checked out Warhammer 40K has books, they've got lore books.
I got a thing for you about that. So I'd never touched Warhammer 40K in my life. All right. I recently have been playing and streaming Darktide.
What do you think?
Oh, I'm in. Just before Christmas, there's a Warhammer shop that's like a 5-10 minute drive from me, right? Just before Christmas, I went in for the first time. I'm like, hook me up with a book. He took me to the book section. We had a little chit chat. Walked out of my first Warhammer book. I'm going to start reading it this weekend.
Okay.
So I'm in. I am in, man. And I've looked at like some lore videos. I've had like some people hit me up and, check this out, check that out. So I've been watching little bits of lore here and there. And yeah. I'm in.
Yes.
I'm a Warhammer guy now.
Oh, you're going to love it. Where did you start? What's the novel you're going to read?
So it's not, the guy told me it's not the best starting place. but it's ongoing. It's an ongoing storyline at
Uh-huh.
the moment, and it's book 1 of this ongoing story called The Dark Imperium.
Ah, okay. He is correct that it's not. So the Dark Imperium is something that I would have suggested for someone who had a bit more lore background than you, because it's very heavy.
Yeah, he told me
It's
that.
really good. I have it. It's very good if you understand what's going on. It's very, very lore heavy. So if you like Wheel of Time, or have you ever read the Magician series?
I don't think so.
Um, so it's by Raymond Feist, and the first one, you've got The Magician Apprentice. Have you ever heard of
The
Magician
Magician's
Apprentice?
Apprentice sounds familiar.
Okay, so it's by Raymond D. Feist, and it's amazing. So if you really do enjoy stuff that's really in depth like that, very, very lore heavy, like Wheel of Time, Magician, King Killer Chronicles, stuff like that, you're gonna really enjoy, really, really enjoy that series run.
Yep.
If you are unfamiliar with it, or if you're not really into that type of stuff, it might be a little bit of a drag for you to get into, but it's very immersive, and so it'll pull you in very quickly. And it's also a great crash course because it is so lore heavy. It would be a great crash course to start, because once you start branching out, because Warhammer lore, the reason it's called 40K is because it's been going on, like, it wasn't always Warhammer 40K. It was 30K and 20K and 10K, because it's referring to these different. Oh man, this is gonna turn into a Warhammer stream. So it goes on extensively. You have, yes, Rupert. I was just gonna say, you've got the Rift War saga. Hang on, let me.
So when like I googled it just to have a quick look at it,
Yeah.
the very first thing it looked at me, it was like, oh my god, it's like starting Star Wars EU all over again.
Yes, it's that would probably be the closest thing to it, but it's there. There's so much. I would say that it outdoes Star Wars EU, because where Star Wars EU, you sort of have disconnected stories, Warhammer 40K is literally all connected. It everything is in some way, shape or form, has to do with the other. So like,
So there's no massive time jumps.
um not particularly. It's just that depending on where you start, you might, because if you start in the middle, a lot of people start at the Horus Heresy.
Yeah, that's one of the ones he suggested.
Yes. So a lot of people start there because it's seen as probably the schism between the newer history of Warhammer and the ancient history of Warhammer. So here, I just happen to have my lore books here. So
I just happen to have this here. Here's one I prepared earlier.
It just happens to be sitting right next to me. So this is what I'm holding is a core book, and here I'll just read. I mean, why not? This is a description for the Renegades. No, you know what? I know what I'm going to read to you, because you don't know anything about 40K, right?
Very, very, like, very little.
Hold on. So the Grey Knights are the best, and don't let anybody tell you differently. Chat, don't lie to him. You know they are. 100%, it's the Grey Knights. But I also have that codex right here. Don't judge me. So Slayers of Demonkind, The most mysterious, the Emperor's servants, the Grey Knights, are a unique chapter of Space Marines. Each is an elite warrior, mystic-clad in sigil-scribed power armor and wielding archaic weapons through which they channel their otherworldly abilities. They are a purified order, incorruptible and possessed of iron fortitude. They have to be, for the Grey Knights face down the most nightmarish horrors from the seething depths of the warp, the demons of chaos. To merely know of these foul beings would blast apart most mortal sanity. The Grey Knights unflinchingly seek out such knowledge and employ prophetic visions to intercept invasions of these warp spawn, trusting in their empiric rights and unblemished spirit. Their brotherhoods use the shifting immeritarium to their advantage, drawing on it to direct coruscating energies and outmaneuvering their foes through pinpoint teleportation. Their warriors unleash a storm of firepower, supported by sanctified battle tanks, gunships, and giant war suits whose psychic weapons can banish the greatest of demons back into the warp. Tell me that that's not awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, Grey Knights are the best, and I will accept no other. Anybody else, I will not listen to you because you're wrong. Psh, psh, Rupert! No! Go back! Go back! Go back to the warp, you demon spawn. No, so yeah, holy crap, you don't even know what the warp is, do you?
No.
Yeah, this is about to turn into a 40k stream. All right, so the reason it's called Warhammer 40k is because there is literally 40,000 years of history. And depending on where you start in the timeline is going to affect your perspective on Warhammer. So a lot of people have similar perspectives because a lot of people start with the Horus Heresy. I started with the Rift Wars. So that gave me a little bit different appreciation and a little bit different perspective on it. So it's no, they're not, K-Dog, you shush. I'm serious. I'm serious. So
Oh shit. My phone's ringing. Sorry.
oh, you're fine. So I'm just gonna continue talking about 40k if we're all good with it. It's when you're talking about like warp anomalies and stuff like that, essentially, oh my god, how could I break the Rift Wars down into like 2 sentences? There were people, or there were factions who thought that they could control the power, and factions who didn't think they could and attempted to contain it. They clashed. The rift tore open. You have the warp. You have people who are corrupted by it, people who fight against it and the things that it spawns. And the Emperor of Mankind is physically no longer there, but spiritually, he's the only thing holding back the horde of demons from taking over. I think that that's fairly accurate. Chat, holler if you think that that's a. I think that that's a fairly. It's not super vague. I know it's not super in depth, but guys, I mean, there's no way I'm going to get 40,000 years of history into like 2 sentences. But it's so good. The game is fun. It's super. I mean, if you love strategic games, tactical games like Risk or Rainbow Six Siege, I'm trying to think of different like video games and board games. See, my brain just stopped. Settlers of Catan, Risk, Rainbow Six Siege, Call of Duty kind of overlaps there, not super. But yeah, it's good stuff. I'm glad you agree, Rupert. I'll take it. Considering that you are anti-Grey Knights, the fact that you're agreeing with me, I think is a good sign. For sure. So, oh yes, Command and Conquer. So it's absolutely Grey Knights are the best. And because because I said that, it is like my ally was summoned from the warp itself to help me fight this battle. Hello, Epic Mike.
Well, hello. Yeah, I heard Grey Knights, and I had to come defend because I knew, the forces of chaos don't wish the truth to be known, and so I figured I'd come help back you up because no Grey Knight has ever fallen to corruption or chaos, and it's
Yes,
not going
and
to
they're
start
the
now.
exactly. They're the only ones that haven't, which is why they are the best.
Yep.
Someone tried to say Sisters of Silence, and I was like, no,
No, sorry. Sisters are dope,
they are dope, but they are
but
not the Grey Knights.
they're not the Grey Knights. Nobody is the Grey Knights.
If you guys haven't figured it out yet, I love hyper masculine characters and games and stuff like that because I enjoy watching masculinity do its thing. It means a lot to me. So I am not anti-Grey Knights. I enjoyed their books. I just prefer Space Wolves. No, Rupert, stop
Listen,
it.
Space Wolves are dope. They really are. If Grey Knights didn't exist, Space Wolves wouldn't be one of my favorite factions, if not my favorite. But the fact that the Grey Knights exist, oh my gosh. Like, yeah, because I did a lot of research when I was getting into 40K because I have a lot of friends that are really into it.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, yeah, just find, like everybody has like a faction that they really enjoy, and maybe you can find a faction that you really connect with. And I was looking through all of them, and the first time I saw a Grey Knight, I gasped audibly. I was like, oh, look at that armor. Oh my gosh. And I just knew. And then
you
the more I
start
read about the faction, oh my God. Yeah. They have the
Yep.
best armor, everything. Yep.
It's
true.
they're so good, and their mission, they're just like, oh well, they're just the Emperor's stooges, and how do we know? Like, that's the other thing too. As someone who is, and I know that this is going to sound way out there, but someone who appreciates incorruptible faith, Grey Knights definitely spoke to me.
Yeah.
Like, they never once questioned the Emperor's will, and I considering that the Emperor sacrificed his physical body so that his soul can hold off the demons in the warp, or in the like.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you not want Oh, by the way, guys, nobody in 40K is actually a good guy. Just so you know.
Except for the Grey Knights.
There's no good guys except for the Grey Knights. But
Yeah.
there's really no good guys in
Yeah.
40K. Like, if you're trying to find the best you can hope for is least evil.
Yeah, which is probably the Tau, but that's
Yeah.
only because they believe that they're the least evil. Yeah.
Wolves in space. I am intrigued.
Lethal,
Stop.
how you doing?
He ran away for a second because
He ran away. I'm so sad.
They are Crusaders. Happy Lady Gravemaster. You know what? I would almost take that, except the Grey Knights they're not technically Crusaders because they aren't out to.
Yeah, they're not proselytizing a war.
Yeah.
And the fact is, like, you're not even supposed to know they exist. Like, in the lore, for people that don't know, like, if you even catch a glimpse of a Grey Knight, your entire planet could be wiped out or like mind wiped. Because it's so imperative that you don't know that they exist and that they remain like whispers in like closed, quiet, secret corridors. Because they don't want the forces of chaos to like bring the hammer down on them. So yeah, the fact I kind of love that about them, that they're like also this secretive like sect. Yeah. Well, imagine like making an entire. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, because if chaos understands that they are as strong and powerful as they actually are, it will seek them out and attempt to corrupt them because chaos loves power.
Yep.
And the Grey Knights have that.
Yep.
Oh yeah, no, that's what we're saying, Watcher. Like, they are. If chaos corruption is even like, if they even suspect chaotic corruption, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, it's over. They're called the Grey Knights, but their world is very black and white. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
At all.
Yep.
I'm
100%.
You're enjoying yourself, D-Day. Really fun stream, guys.
Aw.
$5. Thank you, D-Day. You've been very generous this stream. You and Chris Persia both. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Trying to find the Justicar for the Grey Knights is like one of my favorite like sayings in 40k. The I am the hammer, I am the sword in his hand, I am the gauntlet about his fist, I am the bane of his foes, and the woes of the treacherous, I am the end. I'm like, oh my god. Like, dude, it's so freaking I also just love the their aesthetic is my favorite because I love the religious impact, but I love that they look like knights. Like, I don't know why, it's so freaking cool.
It really is. They're just that is all like, and to see this, like, it's like, that's the thing too. War is very psychological, and when these guys show up, you know you're defeated.
Yeah,
not
awesome.
even because of their reputation, but because when you look upon them, it's terrifying. Like, part of their effectiveness is their ability to psych out their enemy.
Yeah.
By their mere presence.
Yep.
It's so good.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Lethal. How's it going?
Good. Sorry about that, Lady G. I had to take that.
No, hey, it's completely fine. Mike showed up when I said Grey Knights 3 times, so now you know how to summon him.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at that!
My Grey Knight boner activated, and I was like, I must go.
Did Mike hear what I was saying before?
I did not. I had just joined as she was talking about the Grey Knights. Like, literally, I was like, hey, I got a little bit of time. I wonder if they're still going. I pulled it up, and she was talking about the Grey Knights.
So, I've never tried 40k Warhammer in my life.
Oh.
And then recently I've been playing Darktide.
Yes.
And that convinced me to go to the Warhammer shop, which is like 10 minutes away from me, just before Christmas, and I bought my first book.
Did you really? What did you buy?
Dark Imperium. Told me it's
Nice.
not the best starting place, but it's a start of an ongoing story.
I mean, there's so much lore to 40k. I mean, there's no, like, there are good places to start, but I mean, dude, it's just, there's so much going on. That's awesome. That's so fucking rad. Yeah.
And so the reason that I sort of got started on the Grey Knights and everything is because Lethal has I was telling him, because he has no real knowledge of 40k, I would have probably started him, like a lot of people started the Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
I probably would have started him around the Rift Wars.
Yeah.
But I also said that if he enjoys things like the Magician series, the King Killer Chronicles, the Dresden Files, dark fantasy that's really lore heavy like that, then it's a good starting place. And when he starts to branch out, he's going to have, because everything in 40k is connected. Even though it's 40,000 years of history, it's all connected. And so he's going to be able to transition into the other parts of the lore really easily.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is great.
It's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I freaking love the lore in Warhammer. I'm trying to like go through all my boxes right now because I have like a ton of boxes. I haven't started building anything yet. I just have I have like 5 Purifier Squad boxes I have to build still. So I'm getting all excited. It's expensive as hell though.
It is so expensive. It's what so it's actually, I almost cried. So Lethal can attest to this. My mom, so I left for the Marine Corps, and of course when you leave all of your stuff behind, right? Because you can't take it with you. You have to go through training, and you're moving around a lot. And so you take bits and pieces of stuff that you used to have when you can. Well, while I was in the Marine Corps, my parents moved, and so they packed up all of my stuff. I mean, guys, I can't even tell you the stuff that because I started when I was 10. And it went years and years of collecting and years of, what do you want for your birthday? What do you want for Christmas? We go to the mall and it's like, hey, you've earned so much chore money. Or, when I started my own lawn mowing business when I was a teen, and it was like, okay, now I can go splurge on this. Because, you don't have to worry about rent or groceries or stuff like that. So it's a perfect time to collect. Well, my mom, they moved, and my mom doesn't know where like any of my stuff is.
Oh
What
no.
the fuck?
And that's why, so I sent Lethal a picture, and I was like, look, my mom found some of my stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Yeah, a whole bunch of manga in there.
it was a ton of it was a bunch of Sailor Moon. Like, if my parents can remember one thing, it was how much I loved Sailor Moon. And
Based.
I was like, this is just one box. This is what they were able to send. This is what they could find. But yeah, they packed everything up and they put everything into like Connex boxes.
Oh yeah.
And they so they like they don't know where any of it is, because they were like, we may have lost the Connex box with your stuff in it when everything flooded.
Oh no.
And I'm like, can you just see if any of it is salvageable? Because I got into Warhammer when I was about 16, 2 years before I joined the Marine Corps. Coincidence? I think not. No, I'm just kidding. But yo, for real, I got into it when I was around like 16, and so I had a bunch of stuff. The paint jobs suck. Like, I mean, perfectly honest, like, I know for a fact the paint jobs suck, but they got better and better and better and better. And I had collected quite a bit of stuff, but yeah, it died apparently.
Oh no, that's so
like,
sad.
Like, they're like, well, we'll check and see, and like we'll go through and see if anything can be salvaged, but we still have these other Connex boxes to go through and stuff like that. And I haven't been home in a really long time to do it myself, but I'm probably gonna go home this summer and dig into stuff. But I still remember, like, I've met other Warhammer fans in the Marine Corps and other like Halo fans. Halo's huge in the Marine Corps, by the way.
Oh, I bet.
The Marine Corps is full of gamers and nerds, FYI, guys. Like, we're all just, we love the crap out of this stuff. So I like really found my people in the Marine Corps. And I was like, yeah, you know, I sold some stuff. I put other stuff in storage so that I can get it later and maybe, you know, let my kids have it. But my dad had to talk with me and said that, you know, Corinthians, it's time to put away childish things.
Oh,
and stuff like that. So I wonder if they actually lost my stuff or if maybe they got rid of it. Part of me has, you know, just like that little whisper of doubt, but they're my parents. They love me. They wouldn't do that, especially because they also spent a lot of money on it since I was a kid. But a part of me does wonder how hard they're looking for it.
yeah.
But it's that I've had for a long time, and I miss it, and I want to play again.
Oh yeah.
But I get where my dad was coming from, but it was just really funny where he's like, you're about to go into the Marine Corps. This is a big step. You're going to have to mature really quickly, and you're going to have to be an adult. And then I got in the Marine Corps, and it's just a bunch of nerds.
Well, like,
and
you got any 40K stuff? You're like, oh, I thought that was childish. They're like, no, that's rad.
It's badass.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's great. And I was able to, that's where I really got into, that's where a friend of mine introduced me to the Dresden Files, actually. So, I mean, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
50 big box PC games. Oh, I bet. Oh.
Yikes.
I miss big box PC games, FYI. I miss PC gaming in general when it was like you had that huge desk and you just play for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Oh,
I miss that. But now I have kids, and so like I can't do that.
No. Because they don't care.
Well, my 8-year-old is actually pretty into it.
Okay. See, my kids are into it, but they don't want me to play. They're like, that's cool that you like this, but like we want to do it. So yeah.
Yep, I got one. I just got to get the others. But it's like, well, Mom, if you think it's cool, it's obviously not cool. And I'm like, no, it's really cool, and you're gonna thank me later in life.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, thank you, Ruben. You became a grave master. Mwah, much love. Thank you, thank you.
If I ever have a child and they say that, they're going out the fucking window.
Yeah. Right into the bin. Yeah. Get out.
Straight in the bin.
Yep.
But
It just opens the door. Get out.
Out.
You can't stay here. You're not welcomed.
Out.
punt kick. But guys, like, look at this. Like, this is just some of the, like, just some of the greatness you'll get from 40K. Also has some of the best fan art of any series. And I'm into anime and manga, which has a butt ton of fan art. That's really
Butt
good.
fan art as well. Lots of butt fan art.
Yeah,
fan art,
lots
yes.
of butt fan art. Yeah.
Entertainment. Come on, load. Look at this. You get to paint all of these. I mean, they did a really basic powder blue deal, which is fun. Like, we didn't get too insane on the details, which is totally fine. This is a great startup. Like, look at this.
Mm-hmm.
You get to paint and assemble these things. It's so good.
I have so many
mean,
of them I still have to paint and assemble.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at it. Look at it.
It's dope though.
But it's, yeah. And also, I think probably the reason my parents supported me in my endeavors and all of this is because it meant I was too broke to get into any real trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have
It's
money
like
for anything else.
Yeah, you have no
Oh,
money
what
for
is she
anything
doing?
else.
What is she doing? What is my daughter doing? What terrible thing is she doing? Is she on heroin? No, she's
Nope.
painting Warhammer figures.
Yeah, they're like, no.
Like, it would be so funny because I would go to like my church retreats and stuff like this, and then I would either be at like church retreats or I would be downstairs watching anime or reading a manga or reading fantasy or rewatching Lord of the Rings whilst painting my Warhammer figures. And my mom, my sister was not like that. My sister was very much a social butterfly who went out and did all of the things, and I just chilled with my friends on the, because now, children, I don't know if you know this, but back in the day, we didn't have all this fancy stuff. We had to, use the corded phone, and you had to do a 3-way dial.
Yep.
And then you could talk to 2 people at the same time on the phone, and that was really cool.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going
Like,
somewhere else
literally,
with this.
I'd have
Yeah,
my
I
2
did
phones.
too.
I'd have my 2 phones on my cord. I'd have my 2 friends on my corded phone, and we would all be just like painting on the phone together. And like one of them, I would paint my figures, and then but my best friend is a true artist who could like paint or draw anything. She's incredibly talented, so she'd be working on like a full canvas, and she'd be doing like fan art. And then my other friend would be playing Crash Bandicoot while hollering and still carrying on a conversation. So that's how the 3 of us would hang out on a Saturday night.
That's great. Hey.
It was exceptional.
Plastic crack instead of real crack, There
you go. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, look at this. This is hours. Do you know how much prep? Look at that.
It's a lot of work.
Do you know the patience it takes to do that? It's insane.
I'm gonna have to get somebody else to paint my army now, because if it doesn't look like that, I'm gonna be disappointed.
It's like when Homer makes the barbecue. Mine doesn't look like that.
You just got to practice more, Mike. It's all right.
I guess.
Oh, God, look at that. They got the letters perfect. There's no drip. There's no excess. That is phenomenal. See what I mean? But like, there's so much to love, guys. There is so much to get into, and it's so incredibly fun.
People's like, what have I done?
What?
Nah, I'm all in, man.
Oh, Lethal, you have no idea how expensive this is about to get.
See, the one that, like, when it comes to like this stuff, I think Gunpla kind of has my interest a bit more. But I'm terrified to start that. I am terrified.
Also very expensive.
No, well, not what if I fuck it up. When I fuck it up.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
That's dope, though.
Okay, I'm going to help you out with this. When you're painting figures, do not use... So, like, a lot of first-timers, their mistake is that they use the paint-grade acetone to try and remove their paint, and then they degrade their plastic, and then it warps it, and then it never looks right again. What you want to do is you want to get fingernail polish remover.
Boom.
And it works. So what you do, you get fingernail polish remover, you have a paintbrush with water on it, and then you use the fingernail polish remover, you use the brush inside of it, You take the excess off on a napkin, like, you know, you would do before you remove nail polish. You wipe, you just have to tap it on the area that you want removed. So you tap it, put that brush down, pick up your water brush, tap it with the water brush, and then you don't wipe, you press with a cloth, not a paper towel. You press with a cloth to absorb the rest of it, and it'll take it off completely. You might have to repeat the process a few times depending how many layers of paint you have, but it will remove it without damaging any other area of paint of like that you've painted, and it won't warp the plastic.
Boom.
So
Easy.
there you go. Easy day.
Yes,
Dude,
I have so much nail polish remover just laying around.
You can buy it, Lethal. And when someone
Yeah.
looks at you, be like, "Oh no, it's not for nail polish. It's for my Warhammer figures."
Nah, just tell them it's for your fingernails instead. It'll be easier to explain.
It's for my fingernails.
Yeah.
I'm going through my goth stage late in life, okay?
Yeah. I'm gonna drink this when I get home. Just be easier to explain.
Don't say that; they will call the cops on you. Okay?
That's fair. Yeah.
Or
That's
you
fair.
just get Lethal. Just get a girlfriend and have her buy it for you.
I'll be like a teenager hanging out in front of the alcohol shop. Excuse me.
Can you go on and buy fingernail polish remover for
Can you give
me?
me some fingernail polish remover, please?
Yeah. I promise it's not for anything weird.
I'm serious though. Like, it works wonders. That is a fantastic job. Holy crap.
Dude, Darktide is like, I think it's awesome. I'm excited and I love what it's like doing to like reinvigorate 40K, and I'm hoping that they continue to like focus on quality games and stuff like that for it. But boy, oh boy, am I also worried about all the like normie non-nerd people that are going to try to get into Warhammer now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny because they literally I'll have to hold on. I'll find it. There's a thread on Twitter, and the guy was like, "How come there's not more female representation in 40K?" And I'm like, have you actually read or played anything to do with 40K? Because one, believe me, there's plenty of females in there, and they would chop your head off because you are weak and an infidel. But also, like, this is not a feminine game. It's just not. There's nothing soft about this game. It's literally has to do with the world about to be sucked into a dimensional warp run by demons who are bursting out, attempting to take over and consume and corrupt everything in existence. It's not a happy story.
No.
And holy crap, I think I just summed up 40K in like 2 sentences, which is insane.
Yeah. Pretty much. It's all bad. Keep fighting. Yep.
Keep fighting. That's what you gotta do. Like, look at this though. This is so badass.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
They do have a Grey Knights game, but it doesn't look as entertaining as like Darktide has been. So
Darktide's great. I've been loving it, man.
Yeah. I was surprised. Because I like Vermintide. I had fun with it, but I was like, I could get bored with Vermintide after a while, but I haven't got bored with Darktide at all yet. So
I couldn't afford it. But it's payday tomorrow, and I'm probably gonna buy it as a late Christmas present for myself because I really want to play it.
Yeah. Because it's actually a lot of fun. I was surprised, and now they have like the updates and stuff. So, oh yeah, like that's the thing. People coming in here are gonna say stupid things like that. Unfortunately, like the thing with Games Workshop, like the best part about it and the worst part about it is like they can be affected by their audience, and I won't be surprised to see them try to accommodate the newcomers and try to accommodate people going, where's representation and stuff, because like I mean I will say about Darktide, like there is definitely like a feeling that they really wanted to push female representation and like strong female characters and stuff, and I'm like, there are plenty. I mean, like, yeah, the Sisters of Battle alone are just like amazing.
God, yes.
But like but they also will listen to their core audience, because the core audience of people, they're the ones that are buying models. They're the ones that are buying figures, and like the entertainment models and everything that they have outside of the hobby will never be as lucrative as the hobby itself. and so I think that's probably going to be a saving grace.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because it's funny because like we were talking about how there's like no good people or no good characters in 40K.
And when we say good, we don't mean not entertaining. We mean morality.
Yeah, everybody's like at least morally gray, if not just straight up like evil.
Yeah.
But like no, so when they first introduced the Tau, apparently the Tau were all good guys, and they were like the only good guys in the whole system, and people hated it so much because they're like, no, that doesn't fit anything. There are no good people in 40K, and so they like then later like their next like book they launched them and they introduced the greater good. And how like the Tau are like this religious sect of people that go like, yeah, we're good people unless you don't do what we want you to, and then you get eradicated. Yeah.
Yep.
So they had to make them fascists to make them. Yeah, they're zealot fascists. Yep.
And they're the only ones that don't have a presence in the warp. Because Tau lore I'm not super strong in.
I'm not either.
They, I believe, are the only ones that do not have a presence there.
That's very possible. I honestly, I know more lore about like the Imperium than anything because when I started learning 40K and because Grey Knights were my faction, I just studied the history and the lore of the Imperium almost exclusively because I'm like, why would I care about these other alien races? I'm part of the Imperium. Like they're all heretics, and so I
hey dog.
bought into it.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to Tau have no souls. Yeah, so it makes sense. They have no.
Makes sense.
Oh yeah, Necrons don't have a presence either. Same reason.
It's because they're gross.
Yes, that's why. Because they're
nasty fucking aliens. Yeah,
hard nasty. Ugh. Like Lethal, you are about to remember how we were talking about dark fantasy, like. So you were not here for this, Mike, but what got us onto Warhammer was my sort of rant about dark fantasy and how it's been invaded by wine-aunts who have nothing better to do with their life.
Yep.
And but this, like when I talk dark fantasy, this is what we're talking about. We are talking we're talking horrifying creatures. We're talking very bleak. The hero is a reluctant hero who doesn't actually think he deserves the mantle of hero. Stuff like that. And so we want horrifying monsters that are out of your worst nightmares. This is the stuff that we want to see in dark fantasy, and it has been invaded by these smut-seeking wine-aunts who are
it's fanfic.
Feministed,
yeah, they're fanfic addicts. Yep.
Yes. They're self-inserts.
Yep, 100%. They find like a new hobby or they find like a new IP and they go, ooh, that's really cool because it has like this dark gothic feel to it. I want to see that skeleton guy have sex with another skeleton guy. And you're like, but why? And they're like, I don't know. That's just really important to me. And that becomes like the whole thing. And because they're like a vocal minority and they're really loud, they'll just like, they'll invade and take over your space. Yeah, it's
absolutely
awful.
And it suddenly becomes about who is sleeping with who instead of, like, are the souls of mankind going to be saved? We don't care about that. We just care about who's banging who. Okay, then go watch a bloody soap opera. And quite frankly, it's an insult to soap operas to call some of this fan fiction soap opera level stuff.
100%.
Like, literally it is. Because I remember watching, like, Young and the Restless and Days of Our Lives with my grandma. That writing was far superior than any of the crap that those wine-ons come out with.
I think everyone's had a soap opera stage. Some people won't admit it, but we've all had a soap opera stage.
Yeah.
Mine was Neighbours, which is an Australian one.
I've heard of Neighbours. Isn't that didn't Margot Robbie get started on that?
Margot Robbie got started heaps. Everyone either came from Home and Away or Neighbours.
Okay. Interesting.
Heath Ledger was Home and Away.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, that's where they all came from.
Yeah, I dig that.
Kylie Minogue was Neighbours.
Okay. Yeah, because I've heard of Neighbours. I've never watched it. I've heard it
I have heard about it a lot too. I have not ever watched it though.
Interesting. I watched. Is it like a teen drama or is it like a?
No, it's a full soap opera.
Gotcha.
Kind of like Bold and the Beautiful.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes, Dallas is much better than today's fanfic self-insert stuff. That's something else we kind of touched on, Epic Mike. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, because my problem with the corruption of dark fantasy, and Lethal did an incredible description of a tavern, and it, like, you should go back and listen to it because it was just that damn good. But the thing that, as a fantasy genre lover, my thing is the world building is incredibly important, because it allows you to see in your mind's eye the author's world. If I wanted my own world, I'd build my own world, right? Like,
Yeah.
I would tell my own story, I'd write my own story. I would build my own world for my own story. I
Yeah.
very much want to see the author's expression because I'm invested in the story as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is currently happening is, you know, they walked into a tavern, they looked around and saw that there was only one other party besides themselves, so they felt confident that they could discuss their terms here. But it gives
Mhm.
you nothing about the tavern. And I was explaining to Lee, like, is it one story? Is it two stories? Is there a kitchen? Is there gruel? Or is it strictly that they just serve drinks? Is there a fireplace? How many tables are there? Are there dark enclosed corners where they could have like a secret meeting and to discuss whatever type of plot or plan it is that they are trying to come up with in order to either fight in a resistance, overthrow an empire, or maybe, spy for the emperor who is new to the throne and is attempting to bring his kingdom under his rule as peacefully as possible. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Mhm.
but they don't elaborate on any of that. I can't see the tavern. I can't see what they're looking at. And the justification that is given is because these women don't want that. They want to be able to self-insert everything and build their own world, but they want someone else to do the heavy lifting on the narration part. So it's the same reason why we don't get very good character descriptions anymore. Have you noticed how it went from, you could, the character's like physical appearance was shown to you, not told. It's not like you were reading a grocery list. It was,
Mhm.
you knew he was tall, you knew he was strong, you knew that he had blonde hair because the description given was, I thought that he was born from the mountainside as he came charging down the hillside with an aura of blinding light around him as his hair escaped from his helmet. Like, that tells you everything you need to know, but I didn't just list off he was tall, muscular, and blonde. You know what I mean?
Well, it's so you're like, it's the way, like, it's description, and it's like the word is escaping me right now. But yeah, like, there's a difference between like describing something and then using words and description and is it alliteration to like to give you like to
Imagery? Is
describe
that
a
what you're
feeling.
looking for?
Imagery, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like imagery and stuff, but imagery is used by people that are creative and have creative thoughts and ways of looking at the world. And a lot of times these self-insert people, or these, like, for lack of a better term, like wine moms and stuff like that, they are looking for you to describe to them the things that give them enough of the skeleton that they can tack on whatever they want to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's devoid of actual feeling, it's devoid of actual art. It's one of the reasons why, like, I don't have like a ton of experience in dark fantasy, but like my favorite dark fantasy that I've been part of and like taken part of and read the lore on and really, really enjoyed delving into was Werewolf the Apocalypse. And I've talked about this at nauseum because it's a tabletop RPG, but it's in the same world as Vampire the Masquerade. And a lot of people know Vampire the Masquerade, and not as many know like Werewolf. There's a bunch of other ones in there, like Wraith. There's like Wraith and Mummy, and there's like a bunch of different other ones. But the world is called the World of Darkness, and so the idea is that everything in the world is dark and corrupted, and even vampires and Vampire the Masquerade, that they're driven by hunger, and it's about maintaining your humanity or completely losing your humanity for power and all of that stuff like that. Well, Werewolf is arguably, when it's done poorly, werewolf is furry superheroes, and that's not what it's supposed to be. Werewolf is very much like the world is falling apart, everything's coming to an end, and the werewolves feel like they're the only ones equipped to be able to stop it. But as you like start delving into the lore and stuff, you find out that the werewolves are kind of shitty to everybody. They weren't kind of, they were shitty to everybody, and they killed most of the other like shape-shifting races. Out of a feeling of jealousy or whatever and everything. So they kind of fucked over the world themselves. So there's a lot of like this empiric, like maybe it's impossible to win, but why are you still fighting? It's like, well, you can't not fight because that's what we're built to do. But what I've noticed, you know, when you look at things like Vampire the Masquerade, there are people that play it and understand the setting really well and understand why the setting works the way it does and understand the deep like the depths of like how the dark setting work. Then you have people that just like to do vampire shit. And that part is really frustrating because as these properties become more popular or as people discover more of them, they'll start to invade those properties with like, okay, well, yeah, like, okay, I like that, but I think vampires are sexy, or I think that. And they're like, I mean, there's a sexual aspect to vampires.
Yes, but it's a predatory one.
Yes, it's not pretty. It's not supposed to be pretty. And at the end of the day, like yeah, dark fantasy should not make you feel comfortable. Dark fantasy at the end of the day should make you feel like, okay, cool, maybe this thing happened and I don't necessarily like everything that happened in it. But you know, like at the end of the day, you know, like you said, a reluctant hero manages to save the world, but at what cost? You know, or he gets a victory at the end of the day, but you know, did he really win, or did he just forestall the inevitable? You know, things like that kind of a feeling. And a lot of these people that are invading these, you know, like Warhammer and invading, you know, Apocalypse and Dresden Files and things like that, they're invading these stories with the expectation that they're going to win at the end of the day, and they're going to get everything they want and be satisfied and gratified by it. And nothing bad will ever happen because at the end of the day,
no consequences.
No consequences. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, and this isn't to shit on soap operas because there's nothing wrong with soap operas. But at the end of the day, like, it's episodic and you want the story to continue to go. So you maybe have something bad happen, but rarely are there like lasting consequences. But in good storytelling, some of the biggest, most important moments are when there's a consequence that is long lasting and happens for a long time or affects and changes the narrative.
The eclipse in Berserk.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Or completely changes the whole story.
Yeah.
Like
the flood in Halo.
Or the flood in Halo. Yeah. Completely changes the entire game. Like the first time I remember playing that, and the floods show up, it's terrifying. Like as a child playing that, I was like, what is happening right now? And like it affects everything. But nowadays, what it would be is like, oh, like now the flood would have a personality. And now there would be like good flood that aren't really bad and they kind of want to be your friend.
Good flood.
Yeah. Exactly. It's ridiculous. But today they would like
the flood were misunderstood.
Yeah, they were misunderstood, or you know, not all flood want to destroy the world. You know, some of the flood are good. They're, you know, they can be reasoned with, and that completely flies in the face of that cosmic horror of like, these things cannot be reasoned with. They do not care about you, and even like the introduction of the Gravemind, I loved because the Gravemind was like, dude, all this petty shit doesn't mean anything to me. Like, it's funny like that you think you understand what's happening here. You really don't. All that matters is that I survive at the end of the day. That's all that I want to have happen.
Yeah, he's the smartest one. And that when like they all mate, he's the smartest one by far.
Yes. Yep.
But he's also the most evil.
Definitely the most evil. Well, and like, if you think so, here's the other thing. I have no problem with like true love being the redeeming factor or being the motivation for the main character. You know what I mean? Like
no, I don't think anyone does. That's like a tried and tested classic.
Yeah, but that doesn't generally have a place in dark fantasy because usually your hero in dark fantasy, they have seen so much evil that they don't want to taint another individual's soul with what they have experienced. And so they have a few close companions who they do love. But if they ever fall in love with somebody, they tend to like push them away or deny it because they know that if they lose themselves to this, and something happens, it will destroy them and they won't be able to do what they need to do, generally speaking. So true love does not usually have a place in dark fantasy. But in like, you know, in your high fantasy with a traditional hero, definitely has a place in there, because usually it'll be like a knight or a prince or a lowborn, whoever it might be, who's seen the princess, or whose lady love got kidnapped when the village got, you know, invaded while they were gone on a merchant trip or something like that. And so now they have to find a way, they have to go on a quest to rescue their lady love. High fantasy, it very much plays a very important, intricate role in the plot, but it's still not about, hey, are those two gonna bang, or when are they gonna get to bang? It's is he gonna be able to rescue the woman that he loves, or is he gonna be able to sacrifice the woman he loves if it means saving the kingdom? That's another really popular one too. So there's that balance in there, in my opinion. So we're not saying that stuff can't exist, but Lord of the Rings is a perfect example. There was no carnal anything in it. And it's still highly entertaining, very immersive. It sucks you right in and doesn't let you go. And it didn't need all of these petty, lustful tripes and tropes and you know, shortcuts to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything has a tone and an approach. I think that, you know, there's, you know, you have like styles of romantic fantasy where that's, you know, like the you know, things like what is it? I'm trying to think of what, like, Three Musketeers is kind of in that style, but it's like those stories where, like, you know, swashbuckling adventures and stuff. Romance is a part of those stories, you know, like romance within like the setting of like a dark fantasy has to have like a reason behind it or something drawing it, and it has to stay within the realm of the story itself, you know, like in Yennefer and Geralt in The Witcher, like their relationship is actually very back and forth, and there's a lot of like, you know, issues involved in that, and there's tragedy and betrayal and all that stuff. That should be all part of that story and those situations and stuff like that. And like fantasy, like love and romance and stuff like that doesn't have a happy ending because nobody really gets a happy ending. But like, you know, there's like a really beautiful moment in like The Witcher. This is spoilers for people that haven't played the third game. Where,
or like Gary, who just, you know, can't
get out of the first room and doesn't know how to open a door. But like where Yennefer and Geralt, you find out that like the part of the reason that they're like always around each other and always in each other's lives is because of a wish that Geralt made that he would never lose her. And so then there's always this question of like, do we actually care about each other because of that, or do we care about each other because of this wish? And if this wish was gone, would I lose you? And then there's this very like weird feeling of like, is she really in it because she wants to be? Is he in it because he wants to be? Or is it all you know, is it all tainted by this wish and stuff? So like those are some cool ways of exploring things like that in a world like that. But yeah, like high fantasy can have very beautiful romance in it, and it doesn't affect the plot nearly as much. But the fact is, like if the goals for most of these people is to get off. At the end of the day, they just want to rub one out and feel good about themselves and feel nice about, oh, my favorite character got with my other favorite character. I'm so happy. And it's
shippers.
Like, shippers. And it's like, if that's your whole goal, then you're like, your narrative is completely corrupt. Like,
like just admit that you want and need smut and carry on about your day. Stay in your little corner, way in your little corner, and stop trying to like pervert my stuff, because it's gotten to the point where I got kicked out of a book club because I didn't want to read smut. I threw a cupcake at a chick. She's lucky it was just a cupcake and not the whole damn thing. Yeah, you didn't just
break her arm. Yeah, we know how you play.
Yeah, we know how you get.
Yeah. She's like, I was at book club and I broke her arm.
She
Yeah.
deserves it. That book club, by the way, died. Like, it's
Yeah.
no longer a thing. Haha.
Because they were cursed by the
What
Lady
a
G.
fucking coincidence!
Amazing. But yeah, it was the stupid oh god, the thorns. A Court of Thorns and Roses. There it is. It was that book, and that book needs to burn. But that's the stuff that's that's the stuff that's being pushed as, it's not the stuff becoming popular. It's the stuff being pushed as popular. And it doesn't it's not sustainable because there's no substance beneath it. It's all very shallow. And so Redwall is one of my favorite. I started reading that series when I was a kid. There's like 22 books in that entire series, but you can also read most of them as standalone if you really wanted or needed to. But it's such an incredible series. And the idea that you are going to somehow capture that amount of like reverence or appreciation, or even come close to matching like Tolkien's fan base, is insane on its face. Because there's no substance to the work. It's all hookups, breakups, and who's sleeping with whom. It doesn't have anything much deeper than that. There's some like, oh, you hunted in the sacred forest and you killed a sacred animal, so now we have to put you on trial. But that is actually like, that's the plot that they sell you on the book. But what actually is in the book, that is probably like a tertiary storyline. That is simply the vehicle to get their smuts through the rest of the front and center. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I like what K-Dog said about the gatekeeping. Like, you used to think this stuff should be open to everyone. I find that I have to revise that stance these days because that's the thing. It's we're being taught, and this is indicative of like movies a lot more than anything, but it's because it became the thing, 15 years ago. You had stories that were interconnected, but they were there were different genres and people were fans of different genres. If you like 40K, it didn't mean that you were also a fan of Lord of the Rings. That those two were not, but now because of the commoditization, wow, I can't, whatever, how everything has become a commodity, because that was a terrible way to try to say that. But because of the way everything has become a commodity, everything also has started to become interconnected. And so being a gamer means that you're also a fan of nerdy things. It didn't used to be. It used to be, if you're a gamer, it didn't mean that you were also a nerd. You could have just been a gamer. But like, everything has to be interconnected, because then they can sell you on, cool, well, if you like this, and you'll also like this. If you like that, you'll also like this. And then you find out that the people that are selling that all own all of the things that they're selling you. And so there's this thing of like, okay, being introduced to something like Halo. You go, oh, I love Halo. Halo's an awesome game. I think it's really amazing, blah, 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 blah. And somebody goes, cool, what else can I find that's like Halo? And then or people come into Halo that are new to it and they like it. And then their focus then becomes, all they can think about is Master Chief and Cortana having sex. And you're like, but that's not the focus of these games. They're like, yeah, but wouldn't it be awesome if they had that? And those are situations, where the gatekeeping is like, no, it wouldn't be cool if they did that, because I don't want to see that. That's not the thing. And then
that's fanfic stuff. Go to fanfic.net and write it and
go write
your
fanfic and your sput. And at the end of the day, like, the audience should be able to be the audience, the core audience should be given what Halo always was, not what they think it should be. And like, that's why the show was so terrible, because it's shitty fanfic. Like, Halo the series
is good.
Yes,
if we can go back in
good.
time,
Yep.
Star Wars was wide open for everyone.
Yes.
And back in the day, that worked. During the EU days, it worked incredibly well. In the modern day, it fucking killed it.
Yes.
Gatekeeping is good. Now, that doesn't not mean if you're not in, like, I'm brand new to Warhammer, I think I should be given a chance at it. But you can tell who's genuine and who's not. And if you think people aren't genuine, get them the fuck out or vet them, something.
Yeah, you're not
coming into part of it is mocking and shaming.
Yeah, you're not coming into 40K with the intention of changing the core story.
No, but it should be mocking and shaming. Like if Lethal Tomorrow was like, guys, I really think the Emperor needs to come back so he can like, have sex with Nurgle. You'd be like, you know what? That's really stupid. Like, stop.
Yeah.
And then it may get then the a person with any actual sense will go, wow, I don't like that you told me that was stupid. I'm not a fan of this anymore, and they'll walk away. But that's not what a lot of people do anymore. They've gotten this delusion in their head that because you have denied me access to something that I want in your world, or that I want to insert into your world, that I need to go to the creators, that I need to form groups, and I need to complain online, because I know that if I make enough noise, the people that at the end of the day, these corporations that own this will then bow the knee to me. And that's the thing. These corporations have to grow a spine and stand up to the people that they know are not in it to actually like invest in the story. They're not buying figures. They're not buying books. They don't give a shit about any of that. They read a wiki online and said, I really like the idea of this, but I'm not going to invest in that. I just want the validation of knowing that my ideas are now represented in this IP,
Yeah. They read a Cliff's Note of a wiki online, and then they went and watched a Vice video on it, and now think that they are experts in it.
Do you know where this happened very recently? Was I've always been a comic book guy. Granted, I've always been much more of a DC than a Marvel guy, but in my life, I never fucking heard of Shang-Chi. Never fucking heard of him.
No.
And then when the movie came out, all of a sudden, everyone was a fucking expert on it.
Right?
Like, oh, well, I can read Wikipedia too.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, they don't give a shit about Shang-Chi.
But then if you ask them any type of like really specific question, like this is the best way to suss out a 40K faker who claims that they've been fans for a really long time and that, oh, I love this, I love that. Go ahead and just simply ask them, just switch tiny little details. If they're as big of fans as they claim to be, if you say something like the heresy, like the heresy of Horus or something, like it's close enough that a casual isn't gonna know. But a casual would catch it, but a faker won't. Because they've heard those words, but they maybe aren't quite sure the order they heard them in. Right? Or instead of the Grey Knights, you could call them, I don't know, what else should I call the Grey Knights? Like, you know what I mean? But you just take little stuff like that and you switch it, because most people who are truly into 40K, or anything, like anybody who claims to be a true fan of something, they know it. Like they're actually invested in it. They love it to the core. Maybe like the town lore, I've admitted I'm not super into. I don't have extensive knowledge on that. Right? But if you said something like, what would be one that would be really easy to flip, Mike? Some,
well, I mean,
like if you said something like, if you said the Space Wolves were incorruptible. Anybody who's played 40K at all knows that that's not true.
Yeah.
Like, there was a huge Space Wolf, like it was bad.
Yeah, or why bad. or like even just having a conversation about why there should be female Space Marines. Because that's a good way to, because people have already been to say that, like, oh, well, like, why aren't there female Space Marines? It's like, well, because they're seeded from Primarchs that are all male. And male. And they would have no reason to, because like they were
the Emperor's sons. See, I know some stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's like created to fight the 12 demons.
And you're a casual, but you knew that.
But you knew that because you're reading about it and you're wanting to actually know the lore and stuff like that. But that's the thing. Like, yeah, these people could go, like you said, they all became Shang-Chi experts all of a sudden because they read his, Wikipedia. But that doesn't make you a fan of it, because it's like, why do you like Shang-Chi? Not what do you know about Shang-Chi? Because anybody can go look up a bunch of facts about him. It's like, why do you like this character? It's like some people have like, oh, I love Spider-Man because of this, or this. It's like, this is like kind of leans back to like Ripa's argument about like Miles Morales. It's like people like Miles Morales because he's a lot like Peter Parker, and we all love Peter Parker. Like Spider-Man is probably one of the most famous superheroes of all time. Or like, why do you love Superman? It's like, oh, I love Superman because he represents this, or he represents that, or he represents the best of humanity, things like that. Then those kind of conversations, you can actually really start to suss out why a person cares, or if they really actually give a shit about the property themselves. But like something that I think of all the superheroes out there that gets the most, like, I would say, like, casual fans is probably Batman, because the one thing I hear most from like casual Batman fans is Batman's a badass. That's the reason I like him. They're like, well, Batman's a total badass. And I'm like, yeah, but like, what else about Batman do you like? Because there's like a lot of psychological aspects to Batman, and there's a lot of other reasons why you like Batman. And they're like, well, he's just a badass. He always beats up the bad guy. And it's like,
well, and then you ask them, like, why is he a badass? And they're like, well, because he comes out at night.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Or the Punisher.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, like, and my favorite thing is, because if you start to talk about stuff like, you know, you brought up, why can't there be any females? Be like, well, and not only that, but you have the whole Sisters of Silence. Like, they are, I don't know if I would, I don't think that they could go toe to toe with, like, I don't even think I think Space Wolves would honestly take them down, but they freaking, they can hold their own. Like, you want to talk about strong badass women, you've got a whole order of them, you know what I mean? And so it's like, not only are they taking away from the factions that already exist, who they don't know anything about because they don't actually know anything about 40K, nor do they care, but they're also undermining the lore that has been built up over decades and has thousands of years of like evidence and support. Like, it's not like, boom, the Space Wolves existed because the Emperor snapped his fingers, you know what I mean? Or there was a reason that he needed them. There was a reason he had to create them. There was a process to creating them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you have all of this foundation that is built around and underneath that entire plot line, that entire storyline, that if you explored even just a little bit, you wouldn't question why it is the way that it is, because you understand how it came to be.
Yeah. Yep.
Which you can't get from a Vice video.
Nope, you can't. No, you can't. But that's the thing too, like, you know, you get into, when you, like, actual fans and stuff like that also are aware of things about why, you know, even the ins and outs of why something works the way that it does. Like, one of the things, like, me and Lethal talked a lot about with the Halo series, I know we keep going back there, but I think it's a really, really, really good example.
It is.
Is like why Master Chief is the best. Like, that there's like intangibles that the books and everything explain to you. Like, there are intangible things about him that are not measurable concepts of why Master Chief is a badass and why he's awesome. Being lucky is like not like,
no,
it's not like hyperbole.
The point, like,
there's a reason behind it. And so, like, I mean, so when we're watching like somebody like fight Master Chief or beat Master Chief or even get the upper hand on him, you go like, that would never happen. That's not how that works. Like, you don't like, you're not even understanding the concept here. Or even like the way that we watch, you know, in Halo Guardians, like Spartan Lock and like Master Chief and how it actually went. Like, even that fight was too close.
Oh,
like,
fuck yeah. Just to interject for a bit, just to be a total dickhead, I still think the Atriox fight at the start of Infinite is exactly how that fight would have gone. Chief should have gotten his ass kicked in that fight.
Yes.
100%.
I think if you only play the video games, you kind of get this thing in your head that he's unbeatable. But if you go through the books, he fucking cops it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He almost gets killed by just one brute. One brute damn near kills him, kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah.
So when he fights Atriox, he gets his face caved in.
Yeah, he does, dude. It's freaking rad.
And that's
dude,
one of the
it's
other
so
things.
brutal. Like,
yes. And And the thing when you watch that's the other thing when Master Chief fights, he's like he would destroy anybody in like a chess game because he's always fighting like 3 moves ahead, 4 moves ahead, 6 moves ahead, right? He has contingency. Like he very much is able to know how his enemy's going to react, and so he can counter before the enemy even knows what they're doing. And that still didn't help him in the Atriox fight at
that's
all.
the thing too, is like a real fan of Master Chief can admit that he lost a fight.
Yeah.
Like a non fan of Halo, or like a casual fan of Halo, or somebody that's in it because Master Chief is a badass, would never be able to admit he lost a fight. It's like the argument in like anime about like Goku could beat anybody, and I'm like, somebody's like, Goku could beat Superman. I'm like, no, he couldn't, and that's okay.
No.
It doesn't make it. It's nothing wrong with Goku. Goku is a badass and he's awesome in his own right. But like, if he's up against some characters, like he loses. Like it becomes very apparent like that he can't win every single fight, but like his ability to fight is awesome and it doesn't make him any less. Or like if I don't know, you have when people do like a throwdown between what was it? They did like in Death Battle, they did one between All Might and the guy from Naruto. I don't remember his name now. But they'd like being able to look at your character that you love and care about and realize their limitations and why they would lose. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like the argument with Batman. Well, Batman doesn't lose because he has prep time. It's like, yeah, but if Batman fought Spider-Man in an all-out fight, Spider-Man would beat him if they were trying to fight to the death, because Spider-Man is stronger and faster and more resilient than Batman is because he has superpowers and Batman doesn't. But like maybe Batman could fight him.
If a hero just constantly wins, it becomes kind of fucking boring.
It does.
Like one of the most famous Batman moments is when Bane broke his back.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Absolutely.
To watch him overcome something that happened to him.
Yeah, you got to overcome. You're like the Rocky 2, the plot to Rocky 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, for real. And like the idea too behind and this is where it gets really interesting, because Superman, even against it wasn't until Darkseid, but he always, it didn't matter who he was up against, he always had to hold back. He never completely unleashed his potential, which is an extremely interesting way to look at a fight, because like anytime he went up against Lex Luthor, for all of Lex's money and experiments and power and influence, he was still just human.
Yeah, just a dude.
And
he could have flicked him in the nose and killed him.
Yeah. Superman, because of the morality that he was raised by the Kents and was enforced at, like, here's the thing, if Superman was going to be evil, no amount of rearing was going to change who he would choose to be as an adult. It might have slowed it down, but it certainly wouldn't have stopped him from being the god of men, right?
Yeah.
Well, he never goes all out with Lex Luthor, ever.
Yeah.
He can't. And it's not until he meets a celestial being that he is actually able to unleash his actual power. And even then, it might not be the full extent of his power, because even Superman, he doesn't know just how much power he actually has, and if he ever goes that far, he might not be able to come back. That is a huge internal battle, which is extremely intriguing.
Yeah, but it's all internal, and it's not about because good writing, if you write a character that's unbeatable, you have to write things around him of how does he live his life now that he's unbeatable? Like a character that lives in a world where he tries to relate to human beings, but like if he sneezed wrong, could like blow up half a city block, is like interesting. Yeah. I mean, but they kind of do that, they do that in like, anime with One Punch Man. He's just like bored and he just like sets goals and difficulties for himself. A parody. Yeah, it is, but it's a great example of like, he's like, oh man, I guess I'll just go do this thing here, like, because I'm bored and I don't know what else to do with my life right now.
Do you know what my favorite One Punch Man moment is? I can't remember the name of the character he's fighting, but he's getting smacked around, but this dude's going all out trying to kill him. He's getting smacked around, and he has this moment, like, anime trope, where he's like, I'm not going to make it. I'm actually not going to do it. It can't be done. And then he's like, the shop's closed in 5 minutes. I'm not gonna make it in time, man. That's the whole thing he's worried about. He like just drops the doom with like one punch. Obviously, just drops him and tries to run to the shop. He's like crying, "Oh, I'm not gonna make it."
Yeah, it's amazing. But I love that. Like, I think it's hilarious. But like, yeah, it's just that I think that's a good way to look at how you gatekeep people, is understanding that, like, you know, realistically, like, it's okay for your heroes to fail and lose or not, make it, because at the end of the day, we're still fans of them, whether they're the best or whether they struggle or whether they fail or make mistakes. But the other part of it is too, this weird deconstruction of like a character.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, well, we're going to take this hero that everybody loves and deconstruct them. And it's like, okay, well, the deconstruction of that character means that you're stripping away from them everything that made that character good and great. And so, like, the idea of like, well, this is a younger Master Chief before all of this stuff happened and stuff. It's like, yeah, but the thing is, like, Master Chief, like, in the experiences he had, made him who we love him to be. So you deconstructing it and then putting it in a separate timeline means that this is not the same Master Chief. And to try to pretend that it isn't, or that it is the same Master Chief, is an insult to Halo fans, and then here's the thing, why would we want to watch a different Master Chief? There's no reason to,
Exactly. That's what
like,
Lethal and I were talking about earlier. Like, these series didn't become what they are because the characters weren't what people wanted to see. They were exactly what the fans of the series wanted and were looking for and invested in.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, you've hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, Lethal and I talked a little bit about the Halo series because Lethal is also super invested in it, and I think Lethal, I know, like, so do you guys remember when we were doing the Halo streams, and I was like, this is so bad. But then what was it, Lethal, like episode 4 or 5, and I was like, I think this is just a porno. Like,
It was me and Mike. Me and Mike, like, you guys, this is a porn parody.
It's a porn parody, yeah.
It really was.
A bad one, by the way.
Yeah, it's like, a bad porn parody. Yeah, it was very disappointing.
Yes.
Okay. You know, it's a bad sex scene when you can only jack off to it twice.
Yeah. Yeah. You try.
So,
you really try to find the different angles, but
you gotta try. Do you still have them up on your channel, Lethal?
Yeah, all those are public.
Okay. So they're all public and they're over on Lethal's channel, but there's literally a point. It's the episode right before you get into the really uncomfortable like sex scenes, but they're pulling the chip out of their butt cheek, right? Yeah. and it was supposed to make them devoid of emotion. And I was like, but then all of a sudden it's like they become these, they're unable to make decisions all of a sudden. Like, they're indecisive and they're horny and all of this other, like, the way that the chip gets explained was it was like blocking their sex drive. And I explained that is a thing in the military. It's called the peanut butter shot, and it's supposed to like it helps you focus on not primal urges, right? And I was like, however, if those things, just like when the peanut butter shot wears off, if that thing was blocking their sexual drive, it would be like a teenager going through puberty times 1,000.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally what it would be like.
Humanity's most dangerous super soldier having the hormones of a 16-year-old boy. What could possibly go wrong?
No.
And then it just got worse. And it just
looking like a double wide surprise.
Like
double wide surprise.
But it descended. It took Halo, a show built on these elite soldiers who go out and face down this otherwise thought of unbeatable alien race, right? Like, there's a whole, and the fact that they had a human giving orders was, I think that was the thing that made Lethal laugh, but also pissed him off the most.
It defeats the whole point. If there's a human in the Covenant, the whole thing's pointless. It doesn't make sense.
It completely undermines everything. But the idea that you took this series that has books and lore and video games and this established storyline, and you stripped it down to this generic sci-fi universe that was about kids bangity banging. Like, literally the plot of that whole thing was she went from humans are bad, they betrayed me, to humans
Dick.
are actually good and the Covenant lied to me and please bang me some more, Chief, to oh no, this one woman who is psychotic is everything that the Covenant told me humans were, so now I'm going to go back to the Covenant. But then, there's Chief and I still love him. Like, that's literally what it got reduced down to.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I'm even a little bit exaggerating on that.
Yeah.
That's what they took Halo and made it.
Yeah.
It's just horrific on its face. And so some of the stuff we were talking about, so these are obviously dark fantasy aesthetics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I just kind of hit on it there. There's nothing generic, there's nothing bland about it. You can tell that this is meant to be in like a dark fantasy setting. You also have low fantasy, which can low and dark fantasy are not the same thing, but low fantasy tends to have like a lot of like goblin races, and so like goblins, evil dwarfs, or like disfigured dwarfs, stuff like that. Low fantasy tends to have though, and then you have high fantasy. And I think it's pretty easy to tell. Like if I was to show you this picture with no context like I'm doing, that looks like high fantasy world. That doesn't look like a dark fantasy world. That doesn't look like anything that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
This very much looks like it's either a holy city or a royal city. I mean, it's built up on a mountain, which is very high fantasy, where people go to either honor the emperor, or they go to see the sage or the mage, whatever terminology you want to use depending on the story that you're in. So like when you type in like high fantasy, this is the kind of stuff that you get. Very, very ethereal, very clean also. Whereas dark fantasy tends to be grittier. High fantasy, even if it's terrifying, it still tends to have like a cleanliness about it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
absolutely.
It's these types of aesthetics. Because like here, you have a fortress covered in snow. This isn't something that I would technically call like welcoming, right? It's not ethereal necessarily, but it still has this element of cleanliness and hope. Like in this barren wasteland, you still have this pillar of beauty, of symmetry, of cleanliness there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So this is very much like a high fantasy aesthetic. And this is what we're looking for. Like, this is why I'm going to speak for myself. I won't speak for the two gentlemen with me. But for me, this is why generic fantasy in Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, I can't even put Lord of the Rings in front of it. Why Rings of Power, Wheel of Time, Witcher, Blood Origins, all of these fantasy series that are getting churned out and that are so generic is because I can't differentiate. But like, I just showed you 3 different high fantasy settings. None of them look like they have their own aesthetic. Like they don't look like they are part of the same story. They look like they are their own fantasy.
Yeah.
They do. It's the same thing even with the dark fantasy aesthetics that we were going through. Those demons could have been in the same story, but because of the style that they were drawn in and the way that they were presented, they were very unique. They stood out.
Yeah.
So that's that individuality and that aesthetic is sorely missing from today's entertainment, and it's something that we really need. I'm going to steal from my title. It is essential to escapism to be able to differentiate what it is you are looking at. Because if it all looks the same, then you're not going to actually be able to invest in it or get lost in it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well said. Yeah.
But I don't know. Lethal, what do you think?
Well,
can we have the steampunk?
No, that looks pretty cool. No, I think this is something we kind of touched on before, how like if everything becomes, or when everything is the same, you can just swap the name and it's all interchangeable and you don't really get invested. Whereas something like that has a very distinct vibe to it. And a lot of the big IPs became very big because they were all very distinct in their own way. Like you could look at something in another show and be like, I think you're just trying to copy Lord of the Rings here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of makes it all stand apart, is when you can look at something and go, this looks like blah, blah, blah. But now it's all the same shit. So you can go, which show am I watching here? It all looks the fucking same to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can't, you can't actually invest in it. I mean, could you imagine, like, this gives me super big, like, this is Gothic castle.
Yeah.
This is incredibly Gothic castle. And if you look over here where stuff is kind of in shadow, this is, seeing you've got this sorcerer up here. I think the description said Dark Souls, which totally fits the aesthetic of Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Yep.
But you could also, I think if you got rid of like the shadowed part right here, I mean, this could very much be like a Harry Potter location as well. Not Hogwarts, because you've got too much. It's a little bit too, I don't want to say grungy. What's the word I'm looking for? Maybe dark is the word I'm looking for.
Dark, yeah, gloomy.
It's a little bit too dark to be Hogwarts, but it could be like an abandoned castle in Harry Potter that maybe Voldemort took over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it doesn't, because you have all this expansion over here, and because you've got either the water is either crashing through, or this is some kind of fog, and then you've got all of this kind of in shadow, and you've got this dark mage over here, definitely has that Dark Souls vibe.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I don't know.
No, I think it's well said. I mean, that, like you said, there should be a distinct tone, a distinct idea and concept behind your IPs that should make it feel like it's not interchangeable with something else.
Mm-hmm.
And today there's very much a push for, generic, does it all look the same, all interchangeable fantasy, because they're just trying to push fantasy out without having any reason behind it or any real lore behind it, and they're hoping that the IPs that they're stealing it from will be enough to just bring people's loyalty into it, instead of actually having to establish a tone and establish an idea and establish a feeling and a tone within the setting and within the IP itself. So, Yep, absolutely.
That's a whale. That's pretty.
That is pretty.
See, I had.
Yeah. She disappeared on us.
We're sort of just kind of circling back, but if I had to, I would definitely say that, the 90s fantasy and some early 2000s really got it. They nailed a lot of it. The world building, the sourcing, the source material, the imagery. I don't know who said it. It was a little bit earlier, but I think it was Kristen, where there's really not, my puppies are losing their minds. There's really not good character descriptions anymore. It's very bare bones. It's very skeletal. You don't have the, here it is. Yeah, there's just bare bone narration, because it went from like Lethal's description of the tavern or my description of an introduction to a main character to he was, all of a sudden now he was 6'5", broad chested, biceps the size of a skull, and blonde hair down to his waist with piercing brown eyes or piercing green eyes or whatever. You just get like a laundry list of just like, this is who this person is, this is what they look like, carry on. You know what I mean?
Do you want to know something that's incredibly descriptive? The American Psycho book.
Yeah.
Oh.
Incredibly descriptive.
I never got into American Psycho.
I remember one day when the movie was on TV and I was living with my dad. I was like, "Oh, Dad, American Psycho, this movie's cool." He fucking hits him over the head with the axe. And my dad's like, "No, fuck this movie. It's a piece of shit, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, "Why? Why are you getting so angry?" And he goes in, grabs this book and throws it at me. He goes, "This is why." Because it's like one of his favorite books ever made.
Maybe I'll have to go read the book. Yeah, the movie I mean, it's got some of the most memeable scenes, but I don't know that that necessarily means anything because, I mean, Morbius did too. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But I genuinely I genuinely didn't really actually care for the movie itself. Same thing with A Clockwork Orange. I watched it.
Really?
Yeah, I watched it
Hmm.
because it was supposed to be like this. I don't know. Maybe I'm still hung up that they got crushed by a giant ceramic penis. Maybe that's my hang up. I don't know. Like,
What, you don't like
like,
You
was
don't
that
like Darth Vader getting bashed by a penis?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, was it necessary though? Like, why couldn't it have
Yes.
just been a
Yeah.
statue? Oh no, it was
No.
necessary.
Art.
Okay,
Yeah. Art.
Okay.
I love that movie, man. How about a Night of the Ultraviolence?
I don't
I
know.
mean,
But I guess if you guys had to pick a day, like I won't say forever, but if you had to do a day where it was you played one game, read one book, watched one movie, and listened to one song, what would it be?
All from the same franchise?
Nope, anything you want. So one book,
so.
one movie, one game, one song.
All day.
It's how you would spend a day. And your day wouldn't end until you had not necessarily finished every single one of them, because I know like Skyrim doesn't technically have an end, if we're going to be honest. It's very
Yep.
Yeah.
open world. But you had to get at least well into it, like say 55% into it or through it.
Well, I kind of have it. Yeah, a book, probably Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's like one of my favorite books I've ever read. Video games. Every year, I go back through and replay Knights of the Republic 1 and 2. So I probably would go back and start Knights of the Republic 1. Those are like games I play almost every year.
Yeah.
You say one book, one movie, probably The Matrix. I've seen that movie more than any other movie ever, and it's been a hot minute since I have watched it, but it's one of those ones I can always put on and just enjoy. Let's see, and then one song.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the tough one. Probably Roxanne by The Police. That's like my favorite song.
Oh my god, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's like my favorite song ever. Yeah.
Okay, movie. So my favorite movie is Halloween, the original, and I haven't watched that in a bit, so I'd probably do that. Game. I'd probably do Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh man.
Book. Oh, you know what? No, that's a bit generic.
It's okay if it's.
Well, how about that brand new book I just got, Dark Imperium? How about that?
There
Does
you
that count?
go.
Could that be a new book?
Yeah.
And what was the last one? Sorry, a song.
Song. Mm-hmm.
Oh fuck! Listening to any one song all day, I'd probably kill myself, man. You'd go fucking insane.
Yeah.
You only have to listen to it one time, but it's the only song you could listen to for the day.
You know what? I'm feeling adventurous. We'll put shuffle on.
Oh.
And then just whatever song you get is the one you get.
Whatever we get.
I dig that.
Just not a bad plan. You're just gonna let fate decide.
Yeah.
What if it's Baby Shark?
Well, then it's Baby Shark.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you got to balance it out after watching Halloween, I guess.
Yeah.
Go from Halloween to Baby
I
Shark.
dig that.
Oh man. If I had to play a game for the day, oh gosh, it has been a hot minute. I would probably play D&D.
Ooh.
Yeah, it would have to be D&D. I would. It'd be the 2.5e D&D, not 5th edition. Certainly.
Oh yeah. There you go.
It'd be 2.5. Just for clarity's sake.
Mhm.
If I had to read a book for the day, I think it would be. Oh, I don't know. There's so many. I would probably do. Honestly, I would probably do. Oh my god, I don't know.
Just trapped yourself.
I did. That's too many books. There's too many books. Oh, I think. I would do. I would read one of the Dresden Files.
There you go.
Jim Butcher is the author, for anybody that is curious. And if I had to pick one, it would either. Oh gosh, I think I would have to do Grave Peril. So Dresden Files, Grave Peril would be the one that I would have to pick for sure. So that's the game. That's the book. Song, Easy Day. United We Stand, Divided We Fall by Two Steps from Hell on their Archangel, their Archangel album. I would listen to the whole album, but since I can only listen to one song, it would be United We Stand, Divided We Fall. Love that one.
There you go.
If you guys have never heard it, you should definitely go check it out.
I've heard that song before.
It's good. And what was the other thing I said? Book, game. Oh, movie. Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon. I love Lethal Weapon with my heart and soul. I would watch that 6, 7, 8 times a day. I didn't pick any of the Lord of the Rings because everybody already knows that is an answer that I will always give. Like, I will never say no to Lord of the Rings. But God, Lethal Weapon is just, it's fantastic. I love it. So
it's actually, I dig that.
So those are my choices. So hopefully, if you guys have not heard of, played, read, watched, or listened to any of those, you guys can give those a check, because this is, after all, about essential escapism, which is something that we really do need. I have a question for you, gents, and I already know the answer is pretty obvious, and it's something that we've alluded to through this whole stream. But do you?
I'm definitely a boob guy. Yeah.
Well,
sorry.
Then,
go on.
Lethal. That means you have to be. That means you got to be a butt guy.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a bad choice here.
I know, right? Like, we're not. Is it really a loss? There's the question. But would you guys agree that if a series or a show or a story really wanted to pull audiences in, that they need to go back to having a intelligent, capable male lead? Note, I didn't say strong, because as we know, that leaves way too much open to interpretation. But like an actual intelligent, capable male lead who doesn't get cucked by a strong female character.
The answer to that is yes, but honestly, I think depending on the lead of your show, whatever it is, if it's a good show or movie, gender is completely irrelevant.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, if you're gonna do like a Daredevil show and it ends up being a fucking Elektra show and Daredevil's just a fucking moping retard, then yeah, it's gonna be shit.
Yeah. I think I agree with Lethal. I mean, like the movie, the show Arcane comes to mind. Like, probably one of the best female leads I've seen in a film in a long time, that didn't spend her the entire movie like shitting on men and talking about how stupid they are and stuff. Here's the thing. I think less about the gender, like Lethal said, and I think there just needs to be a focus on telling a nuanced story. And here's the thing is, naturally, if you're being intellectually honest with yourself as a writer, you'll typically lean one way or another. Some writers are much better at female protagonists or female villains or whatever, and that's, like if I'm playing D&D, typically I tend to skew like 60-40 in favor of male characters when I'm creating characters, but like right now I'm playing in a D&D game as a female character. I don't really care either way. It's just about what the idea is when the inspiration hits. But these people are not about that. They're making female characters because they want to battle the patriarchy and stuff. And so if your goal to set out when you make a character, write a character, or write a story is to combat some kind of idea, then you've already failed as a writer to create something unique and interesting, because that's not how people work and that's not how interesting characters work. So I think a desire to get back to stories of yore and characters that are strong, well written, capable leads, I think is important. But I think if the goal is to make it a female because females need that representation, you failed and you should not make it a female. You should not write a character because you think it needs to balance the scales, because then you're not writing them with an honest opinion of what they actually are, who they actually are. Samus is a strong female character that did need to be constantly reminding us she's a female. She just did her thing. Chief doesn't need to remind us that he's a male character. He just is Chief, and that's what he does. So I think that that's probably more than anything what's needed is a return to like actual desire to write an interesting character in an interesting world. Then there is this desire to like, to counterbalance things. Counterbalancing means that the system will keep going as it is, and you're just adding weight to the other side. And I think all of it should crash and burn because they've heavy loaded it on one side so strongly. I think it should just crash and burn. We'll go make our own characters and our own stories, because they have obviously don't have any interest in playing ball with anybody, But that's kind of like the more nuanced answer, I guess, of it. But I 100% agree. It's less about the gender and it's more about the characters themselves. Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. So if so like what Jennifer Lawrence said about boys not being able to relate to a female lead, and girls being able to relate to a male lead, do you think that that's bullshit?
I think she's a retard.
Yeah. I think 100%. She definitely hit her head.
I do think she was the first actress to give a double barrel blowjob to both Weinstein brothers, though.
Yeah, at the same time.
And she was definitely a trendsetter there.
Yeah, congratulations to her. No, like
if anyone doesn't know what that means, it just means two at once.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
No, I think that here's the thing. Like I can go down a list. Like one of my favorite movies when I was in high school was Elizabeth with Cate Blanchett, and like the whole story about her, rising, to power as the queen or whatever. I thought that movie was amazing. I thought it was really awesome. I thought Cate Blanchett killed it. I didn't need her to be a male character to relate to her. The Bride, she doesn't get talked about enough because we all talk about like Ripley from Alien and she's awesome, but like the Bride from Kill Bill, I did not need to relate to her to feel like the movie was awesome and like I really liked what she had going on. I loved Mulan as a kid when I was watching cartoons and stuff, so those are all characters that were female characters that I could relate to, and I didn't need them to be men to relate to them. Yes, it was nice to have Spider-Man and Batman and all those characters, but part of the reason they were so iconic to me was not because they were men, it's because they were unique, interesting characters with cool stories. I loved Lara Croft. Like those games were great growing up. Yeah, part of it was because she had boobs, but other part of it was just because the Tomb Raider games were fun. So
well, and see, I think though, like the way that things are being approached. So you brought up Ripley from Alien, and it wasn't written as a man or a woman. They wrote the character and then they went to go cast for the character, right? To see who could best represent the character that they had written.
Yeah.
I think if it had been a guy, If Ripley had been a man and gone back for the cat, I would have.
Yep, that's my
I would have
example.
had
It doesn't. That's shit.
Yeah, I would have had a problem with that.
Even in
Yeah.
Aliens, being so protective of Newt, taking like a mother type role to Newt, just wouldn't work as well as a man.
Yes. And so I think my issue comes in is that for all of the masculine characters coming out lately are all females, and all of the feminine characters coming out lately are males. And I have a genuine problem with it because the fact that you're going to sit there and have like these hardened perfect freaking example is Blood Origin. The guy warrior cries more times than I can count. I should probably put a cry counter up, but I'm not gonna because I don't want to watch those episodes again. There's a reason I took notes and that I live tweeted my reactions as it was happening. But it's doing a genuine disservice to like human nature, and traditional norms, traditional rules are what they are because that's how humanity survived through the ages. That is literally how we were able to get from, discovering fire and living in caves to building civilizations. It was literally on the bones of men. That's how we got where we got. And when you attempt to change that lens or lie about history, you are discrediting every single woman who survived throughout those harsh times and improved life. Because most men, like perfect example, most guys can live with a chair, a TV, a computer, and like stuff to microwave or like a microwavable dinner or like a can of soup in the fridge or something like that.
You were so close to describing me until you went to microwave. I don't do microwave food.
Okay, there you go. But like that's what I'm saying.
Food-based.
It's or they order take, like they have the bare minimum. Most guys will not only be okay with, but they will thrive in that environment.
Yeah.
Like comforts and like making something cozy, making something a place to escape to, or really putting your mark on a place and letting your style or your aesthetic come out. That's a very feminine thing. That is still true to this day. It's a freaking meme that I see every other day. Guys apartments versus girls apartments, and it's literally like a recliner in front of a TV on the floor with a game system, and like it's a studio apartment, and that's how they've got a blow up mattress in the corner. Like and they're good. They're happy. And they're like, most guys are happy this way. And it's like, yeah, it's simple, it's bare, it's basic, it's livable, and it's all I need, right? Yeah. And then it goes to like the girl's bedroom, and it's literally, she's got her stuffies lined up on the shelf, she's got 16 pillows on the bed, she's got the and she's got the hope chest at the end of the bed, and she's got the huge what are those things called at the back of the bed that I can't think of? Headboards, right?
Headboards,
it's very,
those are important. Yeah.
Like it's all of these things, and so like it's like I said, you still have that to this, day, right? So there's still like that's just a natural thing. And I'm not saying that all guys are like that and all girls are like that. I'm saying it's a majority. Like if anybody knows anything about statistics, you've got a bell curve, and most people are within one standard deviation of that. It's just the way that it is. And so to attempt to lie about history or lie about women throughout history and what they did or what they have done, one, undermines the accomplishments that they actually made, and two, it takes for granted every single man who has ever died in order to protect or bring about the civilizations that we have grown from. But
yeah, well, I do think that, I mean, I do agree that if you are going to write a female character and masculine character, that they shouldn't be interchangeable. they should definitely, you know, portray female, because a lot of female characters are written to like men, but like poorly written men. So they're just like, yeah, like Guy Ladriel's like a really good example of the worst examples. You know, of like a character that's written like that. Yeah, and there needs to be, if you're gonna write male characters or female characters, they do need to be exhibiting traits of something that like do resemble female or male. They don't need to be interchangeable, because that's what they really like, is just for it to all be interchangeable and stuff. But yeah, there's definitely been a push, like, you know, it's like every other like property now with fantasy, even in video games, it happens a lot now. The super strong character with all the muscles and everything is a female. They've done it a lot. They've been doing it since like Fable 2, where the hero of might was a female with like a giant hammer. You know, like they just, the idea is like, oh, see, we're breaking the traditional norms. Normally you expect it to be a man, but it's actually a woman, and you're like, okay, cool. But if it was a man, he'd be stronger. Like, you know, so I mean that happening. But
I feel like back then it was different because it wasn't done all the time.
Yeah, it wasn't done in bad faith either.
You don't think? I always felt like that was done in bad faith, because I didn't, but I never trusted Peter Molyneux as a.
Oh, he's full of shit. I mean, he'll sell you the moon and give you a fucking rock.
Yeah,
but I don't think it was like done with like any agenda behind it. I think they were just trying to switch things up.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, it always bothered me as a kid, because I felt like there was because they were like, then they care, because what was it? The hero of, not Will's, the hero of skill was the guy, but then they made him gay. Like, so they're like, see, like, I don't know. It was just one of those things as a kid that I noticed, but like, I mean, but yeah, the idea, like, well, we need to make men more, you know, more vulnerable and women less like soft is like a weird thing today.
Yeah.
I feel like that they, you know, push, but like I said, but I've also seen hard women in movies that I think are awesome. But like you said too, like, you know, Ripley it's not the same. It doesn't hit the same if she does some of the things that she did as a man. And I think that's important too. Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think it's really important to note that I'm not sitting here claiming to be like the arbiter of what is good and what is bad.
I am. All shall listen to me.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I can honestly look at these things. I can and look at these tropes, or look at these reoccurrences that are happening over and over and over again in different stories and different lore, and what is sort of eroding what used to be fantastic genres. And it all comes down to the same thing. It always comes down to these like self-inserted, unimaginative, bare bone narration things. And it's either a corruption and bastardization of something that already exists, or if it is like a new story, it always gets sold as something else, and then when you open it up, you realize that it was a bunch of lies, and you're reading something that doesn't have any kind of depth or soul to it. And that seems to be like the biggest issue. So I don't know. I really wish, I'm ready to be done with this whole bland interchangeable self-insert station that we have stopped off at when it comes to anything, whether it's games, music, books, movies. I don't care. I'm ready for it to be over and done with. But we've been going for 3 hours.
Shit.
It was a lot of fun. We got to talk about a lot of good stuff. So, Lethal, you should go read your book.
Yes.
But so it's what, 9 o'clock for you, Lethal?
Yep, it's just past 9 in the morning.
Okay.
Lethal, have you watched the Astartes on YouTube yet? Astartes?
No.
I'm gonna send you the link for it, because this is like legitimately no joke, one of the best 40K things ever made.
Yes.
I am loving how everyone's all of a sudden just sending me 40K links. I'm getting so many 40K links, and I am loving it.
Yeah, this is some guy made this on his own. He was like, he just at home on his computer. on his own. He did special effects, and he made a 40K series, and it was like super super popular. And then Games Workshop was like, "Hey, we really like what you did," so they hired him, and then they locked all of his stuff behind a paywall on their website. But this is still on YouTube, and it's one of the coolest things
What
ever.
the fuck? This is fan made?
Yeah.
That's fan made.
Fan made.
I'm just
40K has
clicking
some of
through
the
it.
most talented, incredible fans you will ever
Yeah.
come across.
But like
No
it's all
doubt.
fan made. This guy did it all by himself, and yeah, it sets the tone perfectly for like 40K in the feel of 40K.
This looks
Yeah.
fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You are in for an incredible treat. It's
Yeah.
so good.
So good.
But yeah, so first of all, I want to thank both of you for coming on and everybody in the chat for
Yeah.
being here. I think we got up to like 60 people at one point, which is insane.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Thanks for having
So,
me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
It really means a lot. I have one donation in the back. Said it's Duskin does not speak for 10 says hopefully 2023 gives you all you want. It will be a hard one for me, but that's life. Hail to all, and we will win. Yes, we will. And I hope your 2023 is actually not that hard. So thank you everybody who sent in super chats and donations. It means the world. You just spending time with us and hanging out while we talk about escapism and nerdy stuff and all of that. It makes these streams really entertaining because some of you guys have some great stuff to say. So thank you very much. Lethal, do you have anything that you want to plug?
First of all, thank you for having me, Lady G. When you wake up just before your alarm goes off at 6 in the morning and you see a message from Lady G, you know today's going to be great. So thank you for having me. I will probably be on Twitch in a few hours, where I'm aiming to be. And tonight, normal schedule video on my channel, videos for Geeks and Gamers Play. And I think we're actually planning to do a New Year's Eve full Aussie stream. So that should be pretty fucking out there. But thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. It sounds fun. Lots to look forward to. I'm ready for it. All right. Love ya. Mike, what you got?
Hey, you can check me out on Twitch. I've been really inconsistent. Holidays and some family stuff have been keeping me really busy and really occupied, but I'm trying to get back into it a little bit more consistently. So I may stream later today. I'm also going to be on Adam Krigler's 500th episode later today. He's got like a bunch of people showing up to like say hi, wish him well, because he's got 500 episodes is a lot, man. But yeah, so doing that, but yeah, I'll be around and bouncing in and out of different things. Biggest thing I have to plug, keep your guys' eye on the Epicverse, epicverse.tv. You can go sign up over there. There's links to merch on the website. And yeah, as we have more updates and stuff, we'll have more stuff to show you guys really soon. 2023 is going to be a real big year for Epicverse. Next year for sure we'll be doing a community launch at some point and revealing to you guys what we've been working on behind the scenes. So yeah, you guys keep your eyes peeled on all of that, and we appreciate all the support there. And yeah, like I said, you can check me out on Twitch, and hopefully I'll also be doing some more stuff with YouTube going forward. So yeah, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Of course, that's amazing. So yes, definitely go check out Lethal's channel. It's amazing. He's got all the Halo reviews that we did. It was a great time ripping that show apart because the show was not great at all. It was terrible. And definitely go over, check out Epic Mike, and keep your eyes on the Epicverse because it promises to be entertaining for sure. So, and that is something we definitely need. As for me, again, guys, thanks for coming. I'll be uploading my Witcher Blood Origin reviews in hopefully the next day or two. So you'll be able to check all of those out. And other than that, I mean, you can check me out on Twitter. I do have an Instagram, and I'm gonna try my hand at Twitch. I don't know how that's gonna go.
I can help you with that.
But I'm gonna see what we can do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, other than that, I've actually been writing a book. So
is this the same one we talked about?
It is the same one, and I'm almost done with it. So we'll see. I might just burn the whole thing. I don't know.
Get it all done and just be like, no.
No.
Just throw it in the fire.
Not
Be-
good
No.
enough.
it's crap. The world can't see this. Be one of those artists.
Yeah.
But guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'll probably do some live streams in the next few days. So I'll see you all there as well. I appreciate you all. Much love. God bless and Godspeed.